Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes manipulative and strategic expert part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The day was as normal as any other in Konoha. Well, not entirely. Today several of Kumogaku's Jonin would arriving in the village. A celebration would be held as a peace treaty between Kumo and Konoha was to be signed today. This would effectively end the feud between both villages for the time being. They would become allies to one another and peace among nations could be reached. The Third Great Ninja War ended about 4.5 years ago. 3 years ago, Konoha lost the 4th Hokage due to the Kyuubi attacking. Since then the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen, has retaken office and has ran Konoha ever since. This treaty was the final remnant of the Third Great Ninja War, and would stabilize everything. At least this was Hiruzen's hope. Perhaps if the 4th Hokage was still around, things would already be solved. No one would have dared tested him. But that was not the case, and everything has led to today. This would mark an era of peace. One that could hopefully last a long time. Amongst the village, everyone was preparing for the festival to be held. Merchants were setting up shops, restaurants were opening up and prepping a ton of food. Others were hanging up banners and streamers to decorate with lanterns and little games with prizes around. For the most part, everyone had a smile and the general mood was high. They were all excited for today, and who could blame them? Today would be one that would change the world as they knew it, and that it would. Within the streets of Konoha, a short little bright blonde-haired kid walked around. His hair was almost golden in appearance, and he had bright blue eyes like an ocean. He had a white t-shirt with a swirl on the front and blue cargo shorts with blue sandals. This was Naruto Uzumaki. This 3-year-old, unlike everyone else, wasn't happy or excited. What would be the point? He was alone. Not in the sense that he just didn't have friends, but he had literally no one. No family, no guardian, he didn't even have a home. Despite it all, he'd always show people a smile. A smile was a way of saying hi, and a smile usually was returned with another smile usually. Today everything is going to change. Believe it. If I have to do something crazy, then so be it. No matter what, today will mark history, Naruto said as he pointed to the sky. Shut up, brat, some man said and pushed him to the ground. Now get out of here. With a kick he sent Naruto away. I don't understand, why do they hate me? Naruto turned a corner and smiled at some other kids his age. There was 3 girls and 2 boys. Get away. Stay away from us. The other kids all shouted and ran away from Naruto. He still showed his smile, and had his eyes closed so he didn't have to see their faces. Maybe they're just playing a game, Naruto said to no one and put his hands in his pockets. Finally opening his eyes and continued walking. Who am I kidding, it's always the same. It won't be for forever though. I'll make a friend from deep in the shadows and in a hidden place. Someone watched the entire scene and took notice of Naruto. Naruto felt like someone was near and turned to where the person was, but they were gone. Shrugging it off, Naruto continued on. I need to report this to the captain. He may be interested, thought the hidden man, and vanished once again. Naruto continued his walk through the village aimlessly, and things were no better than they were the day prior. Everything will change, I just need to think. How can I make things different? The entire day would seem to go by for Naruto like a blur. At around 5 p.m. the celebration and festival began. The high jonin of Kumo walked through the village and were greeted with cheers and joy from the villagers of Konoha. Shinobi even were in the crowds. They weren't necessarily cheering, but they were glad that this would finally be over and tensions can die down. Naruto was in an alley just waiting for it all to end. There was bound to be food left someplace for him to eat. Scavenging what he could is what got him by. Ju wasn't fast enough to steal, so when he did, he had to be precise and have a plan. There was no outrunning the adults. Other than that, there were little options for him to do anything else for food. No one would let him enter their shops, and even then, it wasn't like he even had any money. There were times that he'd find money, but he'd eventually get beaten up, and it would be taken from him. This is why he no longer carried anything on him aside from what he wore. The positive out of that was that he had little value for materialistic things. On one hand was a negative, but it also was a positive. It was all a matter of mindset. It's funny how much one's mindset can alter who they become so drastically. The roads were filled and there were a lot of people around, and yet Naruto felt like he was the only one in the village. Most either didn't notice him pass by or just didn't care and avoided him. They would part away, always giving him a bubble, no one within 5 feet from him. He stood out for this reason. That is why it was so easy to find him tonight. You're right. There's something interesting about the boy. You see, Captain, I wouldn't disappoint. The question now comes, who do we get? We've been tasked with taking the Hyuga air. The captain gave a nod and brought his hand to his chin. Do you sense it? There's something ominous emanating from within him. I don't think I understand. Focus the more I have, the more malevolent in nature it seems. New objective. We're taking that boy. The two men smiled and followed Naruto from the rooftops. Their new target in sight and definitely easier than their original mission. Still, the feeling he got from the boy was unlike anything he ever felt. That was saying something. Naruto kept walking and happened to head to a very secluded part of the village and sat beside a dumpster. He was curled up and had his knees tucked to his chest. It was cold, and he had nothing for warmth. On top of that, he was hungry. At this rate, he considered giving up, but something just wouldn't let him. I don't know how, but I know, today will change everything. Naruto smiled weakly at the thought, and his eyes began to close. Consciousness was fading. Hunger and the cold was taking too much. Hey kid, would you like something to eat? Naruto looked up and saw someone he'd never seen before. Not that he knew everyone in the village, but they dressed in completely different attire than any of the people he'd seen before. For shinobi, they didn't have the green vest, and the headband even looked different. It looked like clouds rather than a leaf. This guy talking to him had the top of his head bandaged, and his headband covered his right eye. He wore a gray flak jacket and dark gray shirt under with black pants and sandals. The only other notable thing he had was a goatee. Hey, are you sure? Naruto was hesitant since no one ever just came and did this for him. Sure, kid. Here. The man offered Naruto a wrapped-up sandwich and some water. This immediately got Naruto to smile as he took the food. You don't look so well. Is everything all right? Well, I'm used to it. For as long as I can remember, it's always been this way. I don't understand why they hate me nor why I'm called a demon now that I told you that. You'll leave too, won't you? A demon, eh? Yeah, this is much better, the man thought as he just smiled at Naruto. No, I'm still here. See? Naruto just gave a nod and smiled. Would you like to come with me, kid? We could be friends and you won't starve out in the cold anymore. Are you sure? The man gave a nod and still had a smile. What part of the village do you live at? Also, why is your symbol different? Well, kid, I have a different symbol because I live in a different village. It's pretty far from here and it's colder, but it's nice. I think you'd like it. Another village? That's far away? Yes. It would be like a fresh start for you. And you wouldn't be stuck in the streets like this. What do you say? A fresh start, are you sure, mister? I won't be stuck like this. No one will know you. The only thing they'll know is that you're an outsider. That should be your only discrimination. Discrimination? The only reason you'd be treated a little differently than normal. It would pass over time as you get to know others. I know you'll make plenty of friends. You'll even have a home. Friends home. Naruto's eyes seemed to lighten up and become bluer in a sense. I'd like that. Sounds good, kid. What's your name? Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said with joy and put a fist in the air. Uzumaki, huh? His chakra will be high. That is something of value. Plus the nature of whatever else he has should prove interesting. I sure hope he ain't like Bisama with those antics. The man shivered at that thought, and just smiled back to Naruto. Well, Naruto Uzumaki. Let's get going. It's a long trip. Naruto nodded and the two left the spot in a puff of smoke. They met up with the man's subordinate in some woods outside Konoha and began to walk. Whoa, how'd you do that? Naruto was full of energy and jumped around. What a bundle of energy this kid is. Captain, good luck with the trip. Your patience will be tested, the subordinate thought. He wore a similar outfit to the captain but had a hooded black cloak on, and his headband was on his left bicep just below the shoulder. You'll learn later on when you start training when you're old enough. Now we have a long road ahead of us, try to conserve some energy. The captain shook his head with a smirk. Things were going so well. It was so easy getting the kid, especially since he willingly went with them. But then again, who could blame the poor kid? When you're faced with two choices, one where you stick where you are and continue to be in pain, or the other where you can begin a new life and have a better chance, what do you expect someone to choose? For Naruto, the prospect of finally making some friends and having a home was more than enough to convince him to try at this new village. He already suffered so much here, why stay when they haven't changed at all? No one helped him or showed him kindness like this man had. It is true that the man's goal was to try to take Naruto, but that didn't mean he exactly lied. He was truthful. At his village, Naruto could make friends and have a home. It really was a fresh start for Naruto. The only thing he hid was that he would have taken him anyways. But he never had to resort to that, and the captain was happy about that. It didn't seem honorable to attack a kid, and in this way, he remained true. Based on how he's been treated, I wonder how long it will take before they notice he's gone, if at all. The captain thought as they walked. It would seem that Naruto was a nobody, and no one cared one bit about him. With that in mind, there wouldn't be anyone to miss him. Still though, what was that such overwhelming evil that was coming from him? This was just a 3-year-old child, so what was it? He'd know once they got to the village. Surely someone would be able to tell him what it was that the kid had. Either way, he was happy with the success. It wasn't a Hyuga, but this was someone of the Uzumaki clan, known for their ridiculous chakra reserves, Fuinjutsu, and Kenjutsu. There was no way he could get his hands on the Uzumaki seals since those were all destroyed or locked away hidden in Konoha. Kenjutsu-wise, they could teach him easily enough. The future for them would be good since they could have chakra monsters for shinobi within a few generations. This would help further increase their village's power over time. Yes, this was a success indeed. After a long couple weeks of traveling, since Naruto couldn't exactly travel at their pace, and because they wanted to let him experience some of the world and let him take it all in. See how different villages are from one another, each having its own sense of culture and ambience. Maybe it was because both of these shinobi too were orphans and alone once. Perhaps this was why they felt so strongly about Naruto. In any case, this was a mission, and they most likely wouldn't see him on a regular basis at all. Didn't mean they couldn't try to keep tabs with the kid. They finally were in view of this new village to Naruto. To say he was shocked would be an understatement. Naruto was astounded and couldn't believe what he saw. The village was in the skies while it was on a bunch of different mountain peaks, and was all connected. Clouds would pass by and hide the village, so it definitely lived up to its name. Naruto. Welcome to Kumogakure. Naruto ran around like headless chicken. He was in the sky. This village was in the freaking sky. Not literally, but for the 3-year-old child, what was the difference? It was amazing to be one with the clouds. No wonder the place was called Kumogakure. He could reach out and the cloud would be in his hand. He felt like he was a cloud god as he waved his hands through it, shaping it, and clearing areas of the clouds. That's right. I, Naruto Uzumaki, command these clouds. Believe it. Kid, settle down. You'll pass out if you keep this up. You aren't used to this climate and atmosphere. Whatever. This place is so much more fun. Why wasn't I just born here? It would have been better. Even if I was still alone, at least I could play with the clouds. Damn kid, haha. I swear, you're an odd one. Let's get you to the Raikage. Raikage? Yes, Naruto, the Raikage. Who's that? Why do I need to see this Raikage? That's a cool name though. Well, he is the leader of this village, and the strongest shinobi in the village. Oh, that sounds cool. He probably has a lot of respect. People really must look up to this Raikage and believe in him. Naruto's shoulders sunk slightly. He was looked down and put his hands in his pockets. Kicking a rock, he walked to the captain/head jonin of the village. What's wrong? You were just happy a second ago. Well, I'm either treated like I'm invisible, or I'm beaten for no reason. Everybody looks down on me and calls me a demon, a fox incarnate, or something like that. This Raikage seems to be adored by his people. Why can't I at least be seen? Why is it so hard to make a single friend? It shouldn't be impossible. Yet Naruto began to tear up and turned away. The head jonin knelt down in front of Naruto and placed his hands on his shoulders, which caused Naruto to look at him. Naruto's deep blue eyes looked into his small brown ones. You're not there anymore. You can start new. Nobody here knows anything about you, so here is a chance to make some more friends. More? I have none. That's not true. You have me and my friend here. If you want to have everyone believe in you like the Raikage, you'll have to first become a ninja. Then you'll need to train to become even stronger than he is. Think you can do that? Naruto smiled. Believe it. I'll surpass your Raikage and gain everybody's respect like him. The man stood and ruffled the spiky blonde hair. Good. Now let's get going. We don't want to keep Raikage-sama waiting, he's a little brash. Naruto nodded with his smile and jumped as they walked to the biggest tower in the village. That was the Raikage Tower, and it was on the highest peak, overlooking the entire village from the center. Naruto stood outside the Raikage's office as he heard shouting from a loud and slightly raspy voice. It sounded intimidating and was imposing its will onto anyone it went towards. It didn't sound good, and Naruto wondered if it was such a good thing that he was here. After what felt like ages, the doors finally opened up and Naruto got his first look at the Raikage's office. It was huge, an open room with a desk in the center with a large window that went from floor to ceiling behind it. It was a circular room and looked like you could hold a decent-sized meeting within. There were currently 4 people in the office. The 2 he met whom he still didn't know the names of, a tall muscular man with his robe signifying his Raikage status, his hat ranging around his neck and resting on his back. He had golden gauntlets and wore no shirt under the robe. There was a golden belt around his stomach and black pants with shin-high red and white colored guards with navy blue sandals. He had light blonde hair, a mustache, and goatee. There was also a somewhat young-looking female with white hair there. She had a clipboard and stood at the side of the Raikage's desk. She wore an olive green dress with mesh armor underneath. The 2 new faces looked at Naruto. One was kind and soft while the other scrutinized every detail they saw. The woman showed Naruto a smile, while the Raikage just stared at him. Something seemed eerily familiar about the boy. "Who are you?" "I am Naruto Uzumaki, sir." "Uzumaki, who are your parents?" "I don't know. I was in the orphanage until a few months ago. I turned 3 October 10th. "Interesting. Uzumaki sounds familiar. Come here for a second. Tell me everything about you." "Why, yes, sir." Naruto walked over nervously and stood closer to the woman rather than the Raikage. "As I said, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I have no family, no friends." "Why?" "I don't know. I'm either beaten by everyone or they run away calling me a demon. A fox incarnate. Something I don't even understand. They say I'm some demon's child. Adults make the kids fear and hate me like they hate me. I can't ever go to stores and have to look through trash to find food." The Raikage smiled slightly. He may not have gotten a Hyuga, but this kid, if he was right about his thinking, would provide something even better than Byakugan. Yes, his men actually did well. "I am sorry about having doubted you too. You've actually done very well. Naruto Uzumaki, welcome to Kyumogakure. I am the mighty Raikage." He outstretched a hand to Naruto, and the 2 shook hands. The Raikage's hands were massive, easily able to wrap around Naruto's head and squish it in his fist if he so chose. "You don't hate me? Like everyone else?" "Hell no. If I'm right about you, you are special Naruto. Now let's discuss some things. What do you plan to do?" "I want to be respected and looked up to like you seem to be by these people. That man said I would need to become stronger than you, so that's what I'm going to do." "Ha ha, wonderful. You'll begin at the academy in 5 years. The 2 people he traveled with left, and now Naruto was seated in a couch with the Raikage and the woman. "Now do you know anything about ninja?" Naruto shook his head. He only knew they looked cool and that he wanted to be respected like the Raikage. Other than that, there wasn't much. "You being Uzumaki means you'll have a large chakra reserve. You had a clan at one point, but they've really shrunk in size and are really rare in the world. Now chakra is what we ninja use in battle. Chakra is what generally defines one's strength. Don't think it is the final say though. Do you understand so far?" "I think so. Chakra is power. Power is used by ninja." "Yes. Chakra is power. You will have a lot." "Yeah, I'm awesome." "Shut up. Are you even listening? I swear you're only hearing what you want." Naruto shrugged, which made the woman laugh. The kid was entertaining. What was the Raikage thinking trying to give a lesson like this to a 3-year-old? "Now you will also possess a second form of chakra. It's why you're more special than before. Being Uzumaki gives you a large reserve, but you have a second, Naruto. 2 powers, that's rare?" "Yes. Only 9 people in the world could ever have 2 chakras." "Why is that?" "Raikage-sama, is it wise to discuss this now?" "You're right, Mabui. Naruto, we'll talk more when you enter the academy. For now, explore the village and I'll send someone to find you when we have place for you to stay." Naruto jumped up and ran out of the office immediately. Not from fear but excitement to explore the new village. Mabui laughed while the Raikage just smiled. "He's got some energy. And despite what he's been through, seems like a kind kid," Mabui said. "Yeah, he certainly does. I wonder though, there is only one Uzumaki I remember being in that village. And only one person I remember with that golden blonde hair with those blue eyes." "What do you mean?" "I might just be crazy. Summon B for me. Mabui nodded and left to go to B's training ground. It was where he was at most often and the best bet at finding him. Naruto was going crazy. He ran around and saw practically every corner he could find. There was no place he didn't explore to the absolute fullest. People watched as the kid just went around with no real destination, his focus shifting like every 10 seconds. It was funny but annoying as well when trying to walk by and he just had complete disregard of them. While Naruto ran around like crazy, he didn't exactly pay attention to where he was headed. So when he turned a corner sharply, he ran face first into another kid. They were slightly taller than him and also had blonde hair. "Oh. What's wrong with you?" "Sorry. I'm exploring." Naruto opened his eyes after rubbing his face a bit, and finally saw who he ran into. Sitting in the ground in front of him was a girl that had blonde hair, wore a blue shirt, a black skirt that went to her knees, long black socks that went halfway up her shins, and black blue sandals. "Ugh, just watch where you're going." She stood up and began walking away. "Yeesh, I said I was sorry, didn't I?" Naruto said silently to himself as he watched her leave. "Who was that anyways?" Naruto shook his head and got up. He noticed that he really didn't travel far from the tower he was at. There was just so much. This village is massive. The bridges that connected the mountains weren't just bridges, there was shops, some even had little apartment complexes. It was a continuation of the village, not just transportation. So much of the village seemed so far away, and maybe that was why each mountain top had its own ambience to it. As you traveled along Kumo, each mountain peak was like a whole new place. There was one mountain, however, that none of the villagers went to, and that was intriguing. "I wonder what I'll find there." Naruto began walking across the bridge to that mountain. "Hey, where you think you're heading? It ain't safe, where you're going." "Yeah. Bakuyaro. Kanayaro," a man said from behind Naruto. "Huh? Who's singing?" Naruto turned around and looked at a shin guard of red and white. He looked straight up and saw a guy with blonde hair like the rakage, a goatee that connected with his mustache, and a tattoo of a bullhorn in his left cheek. There was also a tattoo of the kanji for iron on his right shoulder. He wore no shirt, but had the Kumo 1 strap flak vest and arm/shin guards, a white forehead protector, white scarf, and a red rope belt. "Don't you know, it's me, the mighty killer B." "Be this kid?" "I sense it. Let's find out more, shall we?" "Haha, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm Naruto Uzumaki." "Pleased to meet you, Naruto. Before we go, bump fists with me, and we become bros." "Haha, okay." Naruto bumped fists with B and then jumped off to run around some more. "That's Kurama? What's he doing here? Something ain't clear. Let's go see bro before he makes us disappear." I was standing at the window, overlooking the village. There was a lot to think about. He had the Uzumaki bloodline within his village. On top of that, another Bija. At this point, he didn't care about the Byakugan, the massive chakra pools of the Uzumaki and their affinity to Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu, as well as the rare adamantine sealing chains. Now not every member got them, but it was a chance. Everything else though, that stamina and vitality, that was universal. Then the Biju, he had his brother B, who was the 8-tailed Jinchuriki, and soon the 2 tails would need to be sealed into a vessel. Given that Kanahigakura was known for the Kyubi, it was obvious what Naruto held the most powerful of all the Biju was in his village. The Kyubi made even the Hachibi look weak. Yes, this was going to shape well for Kumogakure for the future. Reikage-sama, based on the report, Naruto came willingly. How damaged do you think he can be? If you're worried he'll rampage, Mabui, just say it. It's always a possibility. This is why we are summoning B. He will become a great weapon to defend the village. It's clear that he doesn't know much, not even about his father. You know his father? Yes, it's clear now. Just to piss those Konoha weaklings off, I'll let him use that name if he so chooses. Hey, you wanted to see me, bro? I came as soon as I could, till some kid busted my flow. Wasn't very aware, almost went to the no zone. Had to let him know, yo. B. There's a kid I want you to meet. I think I know who you're talking about. Blonde Lil Weasel, right? Runnin' 'bout like tomorrow in doubt. Ah, so you've met him. What you think? Gyuki is worried of what the fox will try. Kyubi isn't known for getting along. B said seriously, and I nodded. He knew of the risk the Kyubi brought its hosts. Can you get him to control it? Perhaps it is all on him to win. Up to the will of the boy. That's how you know when someone's truly strong. Holding a Bijou ain't a joke. He just needs to find his son. Like me. I nodded and waved B off to go do what he wished. So he was wandering to the shinobi district already? I chuckled. Future was bright indeed. There you are. I've been searching for you. Huh. Oh, hello, office lady. Naruto stopped his movements as he was beginning to climb a building. He jumped off a wall and landed beside her. What were you trying to do? I wanted to see what was up there. Looked interesting. Besides, being high up is safer. Poor kid. Always looking for some place to hide away, even when you're having fun. Well, at least you're having fun. She smiled at him and leaned down slightly to be able to place her hand against his back to guide him. Let's get you to your new home. Home? Yes, Naruto. Where'd you think you'd be? Naruto didn't respond, he just looked back to the dumpster and wall. Then he looked up along the building to the roof he was originally going towards. She watched his gaze and realized the real reason B was climbing up there. Seriously? How often have you had to do this? She frowned slightly and turned him away from the building. Naruto, you don't need to live that way anymore. Let's go to your new place. Naruto jumped around her, excited to have a place to live. No more cold nights in the rain, which would definitely be colder here. No more sleeping behind dumpsters and woken by a villager kicking his face in his own bed. A bed. She laughed at the kid jumping around. Didn't he have a place back in Konoha? Let's get going before next week. Right. Let's go. Naruto had the widest smile on his face, standing outside the door. The house was within a mountain peak, the door was made of stone and had a stone entrance. It was chiseled with designs to make it stand out, since one could think it was just a rock within the side of the peak. Well, Naruto, on the other side of this door is your new home. Yup. Also, it would be best that you don. Lady, you seem nice. Same with that Raikage fellow. I told you guys what I have because I had no choice. Besides, you guys are changing my life, least I could do was summarize. Why don't you think you had a choice? Naruto looked her dead in the eye. I might not be that old, I might even act dumb, but I am no moron. You guys would have found some way to force me to talk. I heard that Raikage while I was outside. You seem nice, don't lie to me, please. At least, don't pretend that you aren't. She nodded to him. Very well. Here's your set of keys. You are in the southeastern district, outer ring. Peak 8. So if you're ever lost, look on any map within the village, and you can find your way back. It is practically impossible for me to get lost. Well, lady, may I get your name? You know mine, it's only fair. I'm Mabui. Good to meet you. Well, I'm going to go running around in there, and see what it's like to have a house. She chuckled slightly before turning away and letting Naruto do his thing. He'll turn out great. Naruto opened the stone door, which was pretty heavy for him, but he got it. When he stepped it in, there was a hall that led to a large open room. It was massive, quite an amazing living room. There was no furniture, but that didn't matter to him. To the left was the kitchen, which he ran directly into to see it loaded with food and drinks. It was stocked up to the brim. Oh hell yeah! He grabbed himself a bottle of peach tea and popped it open. He leaned against the fridge and took a swig. Ah, that's the stuff. Man, I never got to have fresh drinks like this. Still, it still doesn't feel right. Naruto closed his eyes before a thought came to mind. He needed to find a room. Taking another sip, he pushed off the fridge and walked back into the living room. He turned around and noticed a massive dining room. It was oval-shaped, and he would be able to fit a large table that could seat 22 comfortably easily. Even with a loaded table of food. Damn, that's crazy. Now back to finding the room. There were 4 rooms, and then he found the biggest one. It had a bathroom which was massive and a walk-in closet. There were also 3 bathrooms in the house, but this room also had a damn jacuzzi. Yeah, he definitely chose this room. So this is what a master is. While the living room, dining room and whatnot had no furniture, the bedrooms were different. They all had a bed, so that was at least one problem that wouldn't need to be dealt with yet. Raikage's office. So, how'd it go? He's smarter than we give him credit. Mabui, he's 3 years old. What could he possibly know? A 3-year-old who's been forced to survive on his own. He's had to adapt, and although he may not have any smarts as one would generalize, but he looks around differently. And? If he doesn't understand general things, then what is the worry? I turned around from the window and looked to the assistant. I'm not saying he is a genius, but Out with it. Sorry. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate. Hi. Well, Bisama said Naruto was running around like crazy. As if he had no direction or actual plan. Well, I don't think that's true. He was looking for a perch, it seemed like. Okay? And? Reikage-sama. Are you serious? He was seriously finding a hiding spot. He hasn't been someone with a home and has lived in the streets. I'm just saying he is different. Still, where's the worry? Okay, he might know cruelty of the world. So what? And you say he heard only what he wanted. Haha, I know, Mabui. That's why I'm so excited about this kid. Whatever he went through, it's changed him mentally. I can't wait till he enters the academy. Sir? Are we sure he is safe? He's unlike anyone else. It could be risky. I have a feeling there's more to him. What do you know about foxes, Mabui? That they're rather domestic? Humph. Well, what if I told you they're all about deception? You see? Foxes are extremely intelligent creatures. They are very cunning, masters of deception. See, a wolf and coyote may be larger and hunt larger prey, but they work in packs. Foxes tend to stick to their own. Some would say the smart works alone and eats alone. He's had being alone in spades. Okay, but we're talking about Naruto. Not foxes. TSK. Hold on, it'll make sense soon. You see? As I said, there's plenty of animals larger than the fox, yet it comes out on top? Why? It's fast. Smaller, so harder to get. It also outwits all other predators to it. No one can get it because it tricks them into every trap it has, and deception is its deadliest weapon. The fox itself is deadly, but its mind is its deadliest tool. I have no doubt that he is hiding even more. That kid is not normal, that is a fact. Well, he's presented himself as not a threat. He's played the role of innocent 3-year-old so well. Even enough to fool B. If not for Gyuki and the fact that Naruto's a Jinchuriki, he would have been fooled. You don't think he's at all like he showed? I think part of it is. He's definitely excited to be in the new environment. He's bought into the new beginning, but he isn't arrogant enough to throw away anything he has learned in his short life. You said it yourself, in the generalized system, he may not be extremely smart. I wouldn't expect that. When it comes to the world, his perception of it, that's far beyond his years. So where do foxes come into play? I began to chuckle at the question. I'm getting there. Tell me, what do you know he's been doing since he got here? Since he left Konohagakure? Well, to quote, running around like a headless chicken and cheering. Mabui sat in the chair in front of the desk as I was already seated comfortably. Yes. Now I know that he said it was literally impossible for him to get lost? She nodded slowly. What was he doing when you found him? Climbing a wall with the help of a dumpster. Trying to get to the roof. Why? And what did he tell you? That he wanted to see what was up there. It was interesting, and that being higher up was safer. Exactly. What? Ask any 3-year-old where safe is. What do they say? Parents? Home? And to him, he says a high point, overlooking everything around him, where no one can get to him without him seeing them come first. She gave a nod. And he's been running around like crazy, right? He literally told you it was all an act. He told you straight up that he acts dumb acts. Yeah, wow, I made all the deductions on his past, but I ignored his blatant statements. Funny how he does that, isn't it? There's no way he can't be that clever. When you started thinking about his past, about his living situation, did he even word it to you? And no, he didn't. All he did was look along the path he was headed. I just easily jumped to the clues and made the inferences. I clapped his hands to applaud Naruto. And he manipulated your thinking from the beginning. You saw an excited, playful kid. He alluded to his past by saying the safety thing and a mere gaze. He made you focus on anything subliminal. Got you to let anything he says directly to blow over. Hoa, why shit, that kid, he's clever. Yes. Yes, he is. I told you. Foxes are very cunning, the most there is. Deception is practically their livelihood. It's what keeps them safe, and keeps them on top. It's why they're deadly. Again. With the foxes. What is it? Damn, he's really got a hold on you. What tailed beast does he hold? The 9-tailed FO. Yup. He's definitely getting some traits from it. That's why I'm so excited. He's this young, and he is already like this. Imagine him when he's older. Reikage-sama? How are you not under his tricks? Haha. He almost had me. Not gonna deny that. He's a devious little bastard. But he made an error. We met eyes. And? He looked me in the eyes. Yes, and he was truthful at the time. He didn't deceive you. You were already under his spell. There was no point in more deception. He started the moment he walked in that door. The eyes are windows to the soul. I saw him for what he was instantly. That's why I tried to talk to him about all I was. He understands more than you and even I realize. Then I don't understand. He met my eyes the moment he walked in. He didn't have a chance to enact his tricks. While he never met your eyes until he knew you were under his illusion. You know? Not very uplifting. Making me feel stupid for being deceived by a 3-year-old. I chuckled, which made Mabi frown and look away. If it makes you feel better, he deceived the head jonin, and the number 2. Nearly got B and only didn't because he himself is a Jinchuriki. I'd bet the whole village he's seen is under his spell. I can't believe this kid. He manipulated me. Can you blame the kid? Life he's lived as a Jinchuriki. He can't trust anyone. B, but he lied and deceived and manipulated me. He's 3. He doesn't know who to trust. All he's had is himself. Besides, he didn't make you do anything. He just wants everyone seeing him a certain way. She nodded. It made sense, Naruto being forced to survive on his own, against the whole village. Being promised a new home and all doesn't change the fact that he had to learn to live. He truly did adapt to his circumstances, and he came out on the other end a practical master of deception. Seriously had her fooled. Made her believe he was just a damaged, helpless kid. Was he even a kid anymore? Did he ever feel like a kid? How deep did this run? Reikage-sama? How do you know what he said and stuff? Haha. I'm the Reikage. Of course I know. Naruto. He laid on his bed and looked to the ceiling. It was nice to have a bed for one. There was no memory he had of him with a bed. So this was new. His peach tea was running empty, and there was maybe a sip left as he swirled it around in the bottle. You know? You can come out. You knew I was there? For a little while. What can a kid do for you? The woman came into view. She wore a navy blue tight suit with a white vest and plates of armor on her shins, thighs, and forearms. She had a white mask with clothes and lightning bolts over it with a navy blue hood. How'd you know? She said. Now that would be telling. I get the feeling you're not as helpless as most would be. And if I'm not? I'm not here to kill you. I was curious about what has the Reikage so excited. Figured I'd come see for myself. All I've seen is a foolish goof. Yup. Are we done here? She stepped closer to the bed as he was laying there. What is up with you? What does he see in you? I don't know. His eyes flashed slightly but didn't remain enough for her to catch. She figured it was a thing with lighting or something, so she let it go. You seem to be more than you let on. You said it yourself. I'm a foolish goof. What more do you need? You've watched me a little while now, besides I'm 3. Naruto even held up 3 fingers to accentuate the point. How dangerous can I be? I guess you have a point, she sighed as she sat on the bed facing away from him. I don't know what I was thinking. Naruto sat up and slid to the foot of the bed on her right side. I am not really sure. Yeah. Naruto quickly swiped a kunai from her pouch, which was on her right thigh. He pushed her against the bed and held the kunai at her throat. You were nowhere near as worried as you should have been. Oh well, I can't trust you. I wonder if you can understand that. I can. Just wait. For what? Wait, because you aren't doing what you think. Naruto blinked and looked around. She was no longer beneath him, and he wasn't about to kill her. He sighed as he slumped his shoulders and sat back on the bed. So, what happens now? I said I wasn't here to kill you. All I wanted to do was see for myself why Reikage-sama was excited. Gotta say, you're quite skilled in deception. You're not even using any of the shinobi arts, and yet, I was almost under your spell. I think you have some things confused. I'm just drinking my tea, which is empty by the way. So I need to get some more. She tossed him another bottle, which he caught in one hand. You're an interesting kid, Uzumaki. You have a lot to learn, but you certainly make sense as to why he's excited. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a foolish kid who doesn't know what he's doing. You can say it all you want, but your tricks won't work on me again. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone about this, just a word of advice? Be careful when dealing with shinobi, it isn't like the civilians. Although he couldn't see it, she smiled and winked at him before disappearing in a swirl of lightning. He smiled at where she stood. Cool. Well, I have some tea and sleep to get to. Reikage-sama, I think it's time we figured out a vessel for the Nibi. Yes, who are the candidates currently? Well, we've had a few from the age group. Karui, Ru, Kira, and Yujito. Mabui handed over a clipboard that had all their profiles and whatnot. As he flipped through the pages of each person, he placed it down on the desk. Well, if we go off of supporting cast and factors of the such, Karui and Kira would be the two standouts. They have families and siblings that care for them. Mabui nodded. Yes. Why does there seem to be a but coming? Because there is. They may have the better support cast around them, but there's a major issue with them. They are not too compatible with the Nibi. We can't risk a bad compatibility on the factors of support. When we haven't had a compatible vessel for Nibi, she's broken free every time. It's worse than Gyuki, as you know. He's had his rampages, but Nibi is more hostile. We need someone that is actually compatible for there to be a chance. Okay. Who do you think? Ru's got the worst compatibility of them, also there's that. Oddly enough, Yujito here has 100% compatibility. That's wonderful. So we will make her the Jinchuriki. Wait. Why do you seem hesitant? For one, we've never had a vessel with 100% compatibility to the Nibi. I'm not sure how that will turn out. On paper it looks great, but it could be a costly mistake. I'm not sure. The Great Reikage hesitant? That's new. No. Stop saying such foolish things. I'm saying that with 100% compatibility, who knows the results? Like Naruto has the Kyuubi, right? We have done no tests, but we all know that the Kyuubi is the epitome of hatred. A being of chaos. We have no idea Naruto's compatibility to it, and as such, his side effects could be from high or low compatibility, but we won't know. Besides, you can't just do tests with the Kyuubi. It's not like the other bees, you know, it is in its own league. He's also had the Kyuubi since birth. He may not know, but maybe it makes a difference. What if we've been doing things wrong? Maybe we should switch to sealing within infants? Reikage-sama, there's only two Jinchuriki that's been made from infancy. That is the Ichibi and of course the Kyuubi. Both from this generation. Its untested Kyuubi was of circumstance due to the attack on Konoha. Ichibi, well, we don't know, but he's unstable as far as we have been able to gather. I nodded as he leaned back in his seat. Yes, it just seems like Naruto's sealing was a success. At least as of right now, I'm just curious on that is all. The second reason is, with that type of compatibility, she'll be able to be like B, and enter her Bijou mode at will. If she becomes a risk, then she will be dangerous. Mabui couldn't help but reluctantly nod. They couldn't afford another failure of a Jinchuriki. There's been too many. Compatible vessels were running out. Well, we've got your brother for that. Yes. I'm also worried about Naruto. He isn't getting the Nibi though. That's true. It's just that he's only the third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. It's not like we have the same capabilities as the previous Jinchuriki to it to be able to stop it. We don't know if Naruto will develop those Uzumaki chains. We also don't have that Shodaime Hokage's wood style. Isn't B enough? Were you not listening when I said Kyuubi is on a whole other level? Look, the worry is that the Nibi and Kyuubi will feed from one another and result in two rampages. This will devastate the village. Right, sorry. Mabui sighed. It looked like it would be a long day. But I can't argue that 100% compatibility can become a great military asset, and that is worth a shot. We'll just need to be ready. Thank God we won't be spending all day on this. Mabui smiled and sat up straight. Sounds good. When do you plan on doing this? Her father already knows about the possibility since the families of the candidates have known since we began narrowing it down. I looked to the ceiling and spun in his chair before looking at her. With a sigh, he signed a paper. Right away. It would have been best to do it last year, but it was too soon from the last failed Jinchuriki. Mabui nodded and took the form before bowing and rushing out to get everything prepared. Today, Kyuma would have a new Jinchuriki. Yujito ni of the Nibi. Kanahigakur. An old man in white and red robes with a large red hat with a white panel in the front with the kanji for fire on it in red. White drapes came down from it on all sides, so only the front was open to reveal an elderly face. The man had a pipe in his mouth, and his hands were behind his back as he walked. In front of him was a large building. There were tons of kids running around and a few people were keeping watch. They wore black and white robes, and all were the caretakers to the kids. The man smiled at seeing the children play and seemed to have fun. None of them, however, were the one he came to see. This was Konoha's orphanage. It was a visit that had been long overdue for him. Always pushing it off, saying there was always tomorrow. With one long deep puff, the old man walked up the steps and slowly made his way through the halls. There were pictures of all the caretakers and even them with the children. Everyone seemed so happy. Especially when they saw the old man. That lit up their days. Finally he made it to a receptionist, and stood there as the person was busy on some paperwork, having not noticed the man. Finally she looked up but looked back down before doing a double take and jumping out of her chair. Hokage-sama. Gee, good morning. To what do we owe the honor? The old Hokage chuckled at this. I'm long overdue on this visit. It's about time I see the boy. Which one? Oh right. I'm here to see Naruto Uzumaki. Why yes. Right away, Hokage-sama. I'll take you to his group section. Let me just look for him in the manifest. The Hokage nodded in understanding and stood waiting while she looked through the papers. She then looked very puzzled at a paper when she finally stopped. Is something wrong? I'm not sure, Hokage-sama. I've never seen this symbol before, I'm sorry. I only started a few days ago and I'm still learning. Normally this should say what room his group and he are in, but well, maybe you understand. Let me take a look here. She handed him the paper and he began looking it over before his eyes widened and he became furious. Is something wrong, Hokage-sama? Where's the headmaster? Right this way, Hokage-sama. She led him through the orphanage and to a door at the end. She didn't know what would happen, but it didn't seem good. The Hokage no longer looked friendly. Slowly opening the door she peeked through before the Hokage just pushed it open and walked in, leaving her outside. I'm only going to ask this once. Where is Naruto? Naruto, not sure if it Remember now. The Hokage spiked his chakra and killing intent, making the elderly woman sink in the chair. Why yes, it's coming be back. He was kicked out of the orphanage. Why? The violation of. The Hokage held a fire-covered kunai in his hand. It was at her throat, and she was kicked against the wall. The supposed safety of the desk in between them totally worked wonders in keeping her shielded. You just put the kid out. Are you serious? How long ago? The woman stayed silent. How long ago? A few months. Rarea, I swear. If something's happened, I will kill you myself. Hiruzen turned away and stormed out of the orphanage. Kumogakure. Preparation set? Hi, Reikage-sama. Just need to bring Yujito-san in and begin the sealing. Is B here? He's ready, should he be needed. Reikage-sama? Yes, Mabui. Still sure about this? Given how hostile Nibi's been to her hosts? The Reikage took a deep breath and closed his eyes. It'll be different this time. Not sure why, but I have a feeling. It won't be an easy road, but I think she'll be able to work with the Nibi. I hope so. Naruto. Currently he was seated on the top of the peak. It was on the face of a cliff as he could look over the village. Well, his district. The village was too massive to see entirely, not unless you were the Reikage, on the tallest mountain, tallest tower, largest view to oversee the entire village. Only the Reikage could see it all at once. For it was their responsibility to protect the village theirs alone. He looked to the sky and sighed. Something's happening today and you're back again. Why? Okay, how do you keep doing that? Are you not at all put off by the fact I tried to kill you? Kid, you aren't the first. Nor will you be the last. Naruto raised an eyebrow to that. And if I am? Haha, look, kid, cute, but there's no way you would be able to kill me. Naruto turned away and smirked to the distance. His eyes going crimson for a second as he sighed. Maybe. They returned to the deep blue and he smiled. What can this kid do for you? Talking about yourself in the third person. You're odd. Am I though? Or are you not understanding? She actually paused to think for a second. Joking seriously. Why are you here? No tea this time? Trying not to drink it all. That's the best drink I ever had. I'm actually about to run out. It's been a day. How can you drink that much? Okay. How could you know how much was in my fridge? Oh, wait. Yup. Where else did I get that tea for you? So that rakeage fellow have you keeping tabs on me? Making sure I remain loyal here. No sign of being a threat. That type of thing? She sat beside him and looked out to the view. I can see why you chose to sit here. It's nice. Just gonna dodge my question. Why? Why do you come here? Why were you looking to get to that roof? You seriously expect me to answer that? Lady, you sound nice and all, but you don't trust me. How could I ever trust you? She laughed a little. You know, somehow talking to you makes it impossible to see you as three. Yep. I wonder how others would feel about you being this chummy with a 3-year-old you have no relation to. Why and no, it isn't L like that. Wait, you're just tricking me. Haha, you make it too easy, I'm sorry. It's entertaining. You and that rakeage are the only ones that don't totally fall for it. Hell, I couldn't even get him. So you admit to being a deceptionist? A manipulator? I ain't made you do anything out of your own free will. No. Luckily you ain't old enough nor like these other dudes. Come again? And nothing ahem, you're right. We are supposed to watch you, just to see you handle this. And you're the one who comes while they keep their distance. Why is that? Well, it's boring for one. 2, well, after that first meeting, you've really intrigued me. Okay, at least you're being honest. But I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm not that complex a book. Pretty straightforward. Y'all just writing a story that ain't even there. What do you mean? You're a 3-year-old kid who is intelligent and deceptive. I'm a 3-year-old who just moved to a new village. Nothing else. Right. Well, we'll talk for real one day. I should get going. Sure. See you around. But you need to show me that lightning swirl disappearing act you do. She giggled a bit. Guess you still have some 3-year-old qualities. See you next time. She giggled again before standing and to his request, disappeared in a swirl of lightning. He chuckled a bit as he sat there and looked back over to the district. Interesting person she is. I wonder though. He leaned back and looked to the sky. Felt like he could touch it. She know where to get that tea. Maybe I should dial it back. They're getting a little too creative. Can't blame them. You've been stupid out there. Yo, I don't even know where your voice comes from. So leave me alone. Make me feel crazy all the time. Whatever. Feel as crazy as you like. One day you'll finally realize it. There you go, talking like that girl. You secretly her? Only more menacing? Oh hell no. You did not just bastard kid don't understand a damn thing. Dumb retarded human. You good there? I need to stop talking to ghosts. People think that's weird. I am no ghost brat. I'm going to sleep. Naruto shook his head and sat up. He looked below the cliff and there was a large river at the bottom. He stood up and leaned over before chuckling. You guys can chill. I'm not about to commit suicide. Just curious about what was down there. He chuckled to himself before turning away from that lake. Soon that jump will be done. Secret location in Kumo. Seals are holding up. No worries there. The transfer is almost complete. I nodded as he watched intently as Yujito laid on a stretcher, having the bijou transferred from its stasis seal into her. She was already unconscious from the pain since it burns quite a lot, since it's a slow process of feeding demonic chakra into someone, well, at least the way Kumo does it. She's holding up pretty well. Should be done really soon, said I as he held the railing. B was still at the ready but began to relax. Well, everyone was starting to relax. The sealing went well and this was just the end of the transfer. And sure enough, after another 2 minutes, it ended. He walked down the steps from the balcony and down to the stretcher. She began to slowly wake up and groaned slightly. How you doing, Yujito? I am feeling fine. I think. You know, if you ever need anything, me and my brother are here. He's a Jinchuriki too. I'll keep it in mind. Well, let's get you home. Sound good? She nodded in response. Naruto watched as the villagers were walking around. It was intriguing to see them go about their day and not try killing him for just being there. It was a nice change of pace. He walked into a small shop and was looking around. He quickly noticed that it was a weapons shop and thought there was some cool stuff. "Hey, what you doing here, kiddo?" a guy said. He could only figure that the guy owned the shop. He wore a brown uniform and had a blue headband tied around his arm with the cloud symbol on the metal plate facing outward. "I don't know. I'm still learning the places of this district." "Oh, your family just moved to this side? Maybe I know them. Who are your parents?" "It isn't quite like that. So what is this place?" This is my ninja shop. You can get gear, weapons, and even some different types of clothing from here to help with training and whatnot." "Sounds cool. What are some of the cool stuff you've got?" "Follow me, kid. I'll show you around the shop. How long will it be until your parents come for you?" Naruto glanced away. Damn, won't stop asking about parents. Naruto looked at the man and smiled. They won't be. Huh. Mission. Oh, okay. Well, let me give you a tour. Maybe we'll go get something to eat later. Naruto jumped up. Yay. Let's do this. The man chuckled as he led Naruto around the store. There were many different types of swords, different types of bow, a few nunchuck variants, and of course many kunai and shuriken. There were other miscellaneous weapons there like blow darts and saban. He had a few different melee weapons like machetes or other stuff. There were smoke bombs and even some in different colors. The smoke bombs didn't stop there. They even contained different poisons or when detonated would release metal beads that flew at high speed which caused a lot blunt force trauma, in some cases lethal. There were explosive tags of varying degrees of blast radius and barrier tags that were sold in packs of 4 since it took 4 or more depending on the size of the barrier. It seemed like there were a lot of various things in the shop and the once seemingly small shop seemed to only grow as they went along. They came across grappling hooks, bows and many types of arrows, crossbows and axes/tomahawks. They saw across the training gear of different compression clothing, gloves and headgear. There was normal clothing for battle, cloaks, jackets, different headbands for different styles of look or wear. All in all, Naruto wondered when this tour would end since it seemed to go forever. Not that it wasn't cool, but the shop didn't seem this big when he walked in. For once he felt deceived, and that a new feeling. It wasn't that cool to be the one on the receiving end, but he knew it wasn't purposeful. This guy just knew how to use his space. Actually, it's my lady that does the organizing. If it weren't for her, I couldn't fit even half this stuff. Well, her and my daughter. He must have known what Naruto was thinking and was humored by it. Your lady? Wife. Sorry, just how me and my friends grew up saying our girlfriends or wives now. You have multiple wives? Haha, no kiddo. I meant between me and friends. You share a wife? Oh lord, no. We have our own, haha. Naruto laughed while being a little embarrassed at the misunderstanding. He scratched the back of his head and looked around to see a navy blue overcoat that he thought looked cool. That'd be cool. How long have you ran this place? For a few years now. I forge a lot of these weapons and stuff myself. I enjoy it, and I was good enough at it that the rakeage let me do this for a living. Cool. You do custom jobs? Sometimes. Many don't ask since they either aren't that creative, or just the fact that weapons are always needing to be replaced, so why put more money in, is the general thought. But it could be better and not need to be replaced. Yeah, others don't see that though. Me and you will have some great business, I feel like. You plan to be a ninja kid? Hell yeah. I'm going to surpass the rakeage. The man laughed. Not necessarily at Naruto or his goal, just at how ecstatic he was. Just know that being a ninja isn't an easy life. Especially if you plan to be rakeage. But hey, when you do, I'd like a bigger shop. Deal? You're on. Great. Now, how about some lunch, kid? Just then, Naruto's stomach rumbled and he laughed at it. Sounds good to me. I'm Trey, by the way. Naruto. Pleased to meet you, Naruto. Now, what do you like here? The two walked out of the shop and saw a girl walking to them, who smiled when she saw Trey. I'm not sure, I haven't been here long. You don't know what you like to eat? Naruto just shook his head. Hey, Daddy, the girl said when she came. Hello, Princess. Naruto, this is my daughter Kira. What's up, Kira? She smiled and extended her hand for him to shake. Would you like to join Naruto and I for lunch? Where you two going? Naruto said he isn't familiar with the area. He and his family are new to the district. Kira raised an eyebrow and looked at Naruto before looking back to her dad and nodded. We can go to Ray's. They have a good variety. Sounds good. You interested, Naruto? Naruto shrugged. Can't hurt. How old are you anyways, kiddo? Naruto raised 3 fingers to him. I am 3 years old. Really? Damn, you don't seem it. No kidding. Really surprised me, except you seem to have a more peaceful meeting. What's he even doing here? How'd he find you? I'm overthinking this. There's no way he knows, right? Kira thought as they walked to the restaurant she recommended. You don't think so? I think I'm normal, aren't I? I mean, is there really such a thing as normal, kid? We all are different. Guess you just are more mature than most. Naruto nodded and continued walking. They made it to the restaurant and took a seat in a booth. Kira and Trey sat next to each other where Trey was closest to the opening. Naruto sat across from Kira, closest to the wall. Naruto looked at her while Trey was looking at his menu and winked with a smirk. When she saw that, she frowned slightly. He knew who she was. Now she wondered if this was a coincidence, or if he planned this. Hey, would you guys like to order drinks? And are you ready to order, or do you need time? Hey, thanks, I think we're ready. Naruto, want to go first? Trey said when the waiter came. Sure. I'll take some peach tea, and whatever she gets. Kira looked a little confused before it hit her, and she had a weak smile. I'll get your raspberry tea, and I'll have the takoyaki. I will have kairishizushi, and lemonade. Very well. I'll have the drinks out in just a minute, the waiter said and left immediately with the notepad and their menus. Naruto was smiling at Kira because he knew very well who she was, and her reaction was priceless. She'd become extremely nervous when he winked at her, telling her that he knew. It was amusing to him. The rest of the meal went fine, and they had returned to the shop when Naruto decided it was time to head home. As he was walking away from the shop, she came out and grabbed his shoulder to stop him. So what, you're going to target my home now? No. I'm 3. I don't know what you. Before he finished, she shined them to his house and she threw him into his living room. Someone's not happy. What's wrong, Kira-chan? Didn't think I'd find you? What are you planning? I swear, if you so much as lay a finger on him, Relax. I'm not doing anything. In fact, your kind father will be helpful once I'm a ninja. I mean you no harm, but let this be a warning, should you or anyone try anything, I can get places you would never expect. That's for everyone on this surveillance detail of yours. Naruto, why do you feel the need to create a threat? You're only making yourself more suspicious. If you want to stop being watched, then you need to show that you are no longer a risk. You wouldn't understand. As I said, I won't harm your family. You're good people. But I had to make a point. By the way, what was that food we had? Takoyaki? Yeah, that was very good. Great to finally meet you, Kira. I understand the purpose of the mask, so don't worry. She nodded thankfully. I'm sorry about my reaction, I just didn't know what you were planning. Given how your first interaction went with me. What would you do if I told you that I knew you were tricking me that day? No, I'm sure I got you. I don't exactly know what you did, but I knew you were doing something. Would I have been able to win? I doubt it. But I wasn't completely under your trick. You need to work better at being a step ahead. In every situation I've always been ahead of you, and I'm only 3. Naruto, you are one interesting kid. If you need anything, you know where to find me. I'll see you around. She smiled at him and left in a swirl of lightning. Man, she's cool. Maybe she'll teach me that soon. 5 years later. Naruto opened his eyes. It was Monday, August 8th, and it was currently 0400. He got up and went outside to run around the district. It took him an hour to complete the run, and when he got back he showered and got dressed. He wore blue shorts and a white long-sleeved shirt, blue sandals, and his blonde hair was a spiky mess on his head. After eating and finally heading out, it was now 0600. Well, maybe I'll be a little late. It's only the first day, so it doesn't matter. Naruto smirked and left the house. He went down the steps of his peak, and was now at the district level. He stopped at Trey's shop and smiled at the man when he walked in. Naruto, you start classes today, right? Yep. And it's going to be a very interesting time. You take it easy on them, Naruto, Kira said with a smile as she entered the main room of the shop. We'll see. Aren't you going to be late? Class starts in an hour, Trey said as he saw the clock be at 0630. Naruto just shrugged. I guess so. Oh no, you don't. Kira grabbed him, and in the blink of an eye, they were at the courtyard of the academy. Seriously now, how am I? You won't be doing tricks here, Naruto. You've got to be serious. Your performance during your time here will impact your future. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, well, not every student here is being watched by the Raikage. All the more reason you need to do well. Sure. I'm serious, Naruto. Don't make me beat you up. You wouldn't be able to get me. I'm faster and more skilled than you, little brat. So what? That hasn't helped you in the past. Shut up. She laughed and pulled him into a hug. Come by after the day ends. I want to hear all about it. Will do. Kira? Yes? Don't have too high of expectations, okay? I really can't stand anyone. You and Trey are the only two I actually like. You're the family I never had. I know, Naruto. Just try. Now get going. Naruto rolled his eyes again, and she hugged him one last time. She then left in a swirl of lightning which made him smile at where she once stood. Never gets old. He sighed and looked to the double-door entrance. The building to the academy was massive, and with a crack of his neck he walked up to the doors. Once he got there, they flung open, making him take a few steps back to avoid it. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly when a group of 5 kids walked out. He closed his eyes and smiled at no one in particular. What's up? He said as he stood in front of the group. The group didn't say anything. He watched as they slowly moved closer and took a sort of semicircle formation in front of him. Naruto nodded within his head and sighed. He knew what this was, I was wondering who I'd get to meet. Thanks for spreading out a bit, lets me get a clearer view of my new friends. The group of kids looked amongst each other, and then laughed hysterically. The one in the center, who was the apparent group's leader, or just the one that had the most confidence, spoke up. You really think we're here to be your friends? Yeah? Why else? The same kid looked to the others and they all laughed. While their eyes were shut, Naruto rolled his eyes. Why would we ever be friends with an outsider? Naruto actually paused for a second and raised an eyebrow. What? You think we wouldn't know that you're an outsider? Haha, pathetic. There's windows, maybe you don't want a sensei to see this? They won't care about you. You're an outsider. We have no worries, one of the other kids said. He was a little shorter than the first and had black hair. They all were around the same height but stood about 6 inches taller than Naruto. They have a point. Outsiders wouldn't get the same treatment as them. Naruto looked at them and remembered the time. The bell will ring very soon. Ensure you don't want to be late. Especially on the first day, an outsider wouldn't be a very good excuse. They all looked at him, then back to the kid in the center. He didn't look happy. They all wore white and brown clothing, and Naruto figured that they must have been a pretty close group of friends to be similar to each other. Still, they looked to that kid as their leader. So apparently there was some sort of hierarchy. Humph. You got lucky this time, midget. You won't be so lucky next time. With that, they all turned away at the same time and entered the academy. Naruto just stood there a bit, and when they finally left, he sighed and smirked while rolling his shoulders. Went a little easier than I expected. He looked into a window and noticed a blonde girl had been watching. She looked sort of familiar to him, but he just winked and walked to the entrance. Damn, Kitsune still hasn't changed a bit. What are you talking about? The dumb kid just managed to squeak away. Besides, why'd you call him Kitsune? Ha ha ha, sure. Don't worry about it. I should have kept that thought to myself, kitten. Just get back to your seat before anyone comes in. The blonde girl nodded and went back towards the entrance of the classroom and stood there waiting for the rest of the class and the sensei to arrive. Naruto was walking through the halls and looked up to see Hall 8. Now he just had to go down to Class 10. He shook his head and chuckled at the thought of it being the same as his birthday before continuing on. When he went into the room, he was apparently the last one in and sighed. Everyone was looking at him. His eyes moved around the room and no one really stuck out, but there was a kid who had a lollipop in his mouth. Further around, he made his way to the sensei of the class. He wore the standard Kumo uniform and had dark brown skin with green eyes and blonde hair that almost seemed white. He also didn't look too happy. "You're late." Naruto looked at the clock. 30 seconds. "You're still late. Name?" "Naruto." The man looked through the roster and found his papers. He raised an eyebrow and looked back at Naruto. "Uzumaki, huh? Says here that Reikage-sama enrolled you. What, no parents?" Naruto looked him dead in the eye. No tricks, nothing. The man seemed to flinch slightly, but it was only seen by Naruto. "What does it matter?" "Just curious, kid. Reikage-sama enrolling someone generally means they're orphaned, and he's taken some sort of interest in the person, otherwise he isn't the one to do it." "Okay." Naruto still stood there. "There's an open seat over there. Go on." Naruto nodded and went to the seat. The desks were made to seat 2 per desk. The seat that was open was next to the lollipop kid. "What's up? I'm Oma." "Good, I don't need to call you lollipop or lollipop boy." Oma just looked at Naruto. "That was a joke, I don't know you. I've been told that when meeting someone, a joke helps." "You aren't around other people often, are you?" "What makes you say that?" "Just seem off." "I don't know." "Well, if you didn't hear, I'm Naruto." "Good to meet you." Omoi nodded as he spoke and moved his lollipop to the other side and moved his attention back towards the sensei who now was right in front of him. "So, interrupting the class now, Oma. What did I tell you about eating in here? Throw that candy away." The sensei extended a bag which Omoi proceeded to throw his lollipop away. "Now quiet down and pay attention." The sensei left to go to the front of the class again, and Naruto chuckled. "You could have warned me." "Yes, but then I'd have missed out on that laugh." "Bastard," Oma said half-heartedly with a smile. He then took out another lollipop and placed in his mouth, making Naruto shake his head and chuckle again. The class wasn't too interesting, so when the bell rang for the next class of the day, he was in a gym with 21 other kids and a female sensei that was in tights. No one really stuck out, but Omoi also was with him still, and that blonde girl he saw through the window also seemed to be there. She was off in a corner by herself, and didn't seem too enthusiastic. They all had white t-shirts and blue shorts, as was the uniform of this class. It would be a more entertaining class, he figured, and soon the sensei finally decided to talk. She navigated her way to the center of the gym, and gained everyone's attention. "I'm Sensei Naruto. We'll be doing a lot of your physical and combat training within my class over the years. Once we begin to teach you to fight, it will be implemented in the games we play, namely Capture the Flag." The class erupted in a murmur, being rather interested in the class. It sounded more fun than the previous class, and they would learn their ninja skills here, well, the physical stuff. Alright, quiet down. Today, we won't be doing much. Just get to know one another and be ready to get started tomorrow with Capture the Flag." She then left and the class was alone, standing a little awkwardly for a bit. Oma turned to Naruto. "What you trying to do?" Naruto shrugged. "I don't know. But that girl with the red hair has been looking at you for a while." "Say what?" "Yeah. To your right, she's seated at the bleachers." Omoi glanced over and noticed who he was talking about. He looked back to Naruto, who was laughing at him. "What?" "Nothing. Just got yourself a little admirer. I'll leave you to it." Naruto then walked away, making Omoi sigh. "What am I going to do?" He turned around, and she was right there. Of course, he didn't warn me again. Naruto watched from a distance with a chuckle as Omoi stood there awkwardly. No one came to him, and he didn't mind. He went to the bleachers that were all collapsed to the wall and climbed up to the top, since that was the only place you could sit. They went high up, and the top row of the bleachers gave him a good view of everyone below. He noticed that the blonde girl was no longer where she was in Omoi, and the red-headed girl was also somewhere else. Although those last two were against the far wall seated while they talked. Looked like they were getting along, since they were laughing here and there. His peace and quiet seemed like it would end soon, however, when he noticed those 5 boys from earlier. They wore the uniform of white and blue, but they had brown wristbands that matched each other. He rolled his eyes when he noticed them and sighed. In the far corner, Yujito sat and happened to take notice of Naruto sitting on the closed bleachers. She found it odd that he wasn't trying to meet anyone. Granted, she was on her own as well. There was a difference though, she already made a friend that was currently in the bathroom. Kitten, things are about to get interesting. How so? Kitsune never disappoints when it comes to entertainment. What do you mean? How do you know that dumb boy? Couldn't even pay attention to where he was headed when I first saw him. Just wait. Your friend is nice though. Why do you avoid telling me more about this kid? I don't know the kid, Peresi. Just don't worry about it right now. Just watch the show. Whatever. Naruto watched as the group approached him, but he was safe from where he was seated. Not many people had the athleticism to jump up and climb up using only their arms. His experience in climbing walls and buildings let this be child's play. They would have to go to one of the far sides and use the railings that bordered the bleachers to climb up, which would be more than enough time to get away if need be. If it isn't the outsider, looks like we'll have all the time in the world to make a fool of you, the leader said. Do you have nothing else better to do than to be obsessed with me? Naruto said, not even looking at him. Instead, he finally noticed the blonde girl, and she was seated with another blonde girl, but her hair was short. You'll pay for that. For what? Stating the obvious? You guys can't get enough of me. That's not true. You're a pathetic outsider with no family. You'll never become a true ninja, one of the other kids said. Naruto looked away from the girl and looked at who spoke. It was a kid with orange hair and light brown skin. He was a bit shorter than the supposed leader, and he had black eyes. Who are you guys anyways? How would you know anything about me? My mom runs a lot of the village's population records. So, your mom is a paper pusher and just looks at people's backgrounds and residence. That's it. You're one to talk about being a true ninja. The kid snarled in annoyance and balled a fist. One of the other kids stepped forward. Outsiders never make it. They always fall short. It's only a matter of time. Besides, you're already the shortest out of everyone here. Everything else will fall soon. Do you guys actually know anything about me? Other than I'm not originally of the village. We don't need to. Right, well, what are you going to do? You guys said I'd pay. Well, how? I'm sitting nice and comfy here. You guys look flustered. Get rejected already? They all got angry and ran to the bleachers to try to get to him. They jumped and tried to climb up but couldn't. They just slid off the face of the wall made by the bleachers. Naruto smirked and leaned back as he sat there watching them try and failed to climb up. Get down here! Coward! By now the entire gym was watching as the five tried getting to the golden blonde boy, who looked amused at the five below. None really cared for Naruto, but it was funny to see the top dogs fail miserably to reach him. Their shouting was funny and only drew more attention. They knew they were garnering the attention of everyone, so they were getting desperate to actually get him, otherwise they'd look like fools. He's got them acting silly, Nibby said, laughing. It is entertaining. See. Yujito. Who is that kid? I don't know, Samui, but he's a moron. Why do you say that? Have you talked to him? Not exactly. Samui sighed. Then how would you know? He just is. Eventually they'll get to him. Naruto just sat pleased with the situation and looked back to the two blonde girls who still were watching from a distance. The short-haired one was laughing and the one with the long hair that seemed familiar just looked unamused. If anything, she was annoyed. What is with her? You're so damn stupid. Who even are you? Are you going to deal with them? Wait, you can hear my thoughts? Is that really so surprising? I am literally speaking from within your mind. So you aren't a ghost? I told you that 5 years ago. Where was your voice all this time? I haven't heard you since then. Sleeping? You haven't been too amusing lately. Sleeping more. Okay, so like, what's our deal? Are you an imaginary friend or like an alternate personality? Something like that. Listen, you should know. You aren't the only one with a voice like mine. Well, not exactly same voice, but a voice nonetheless. Huh. Interesting. In fact, one of them is in here too. A cat, a feisty cat. Cat? You voices are animals? Sort of. What are you? 3 guesses. Can I get a hint? Let's say my personality as well as the others rub off on the host. You enjoy deceiving and tricking others. An animal that is a trickster. Foxes? Are you a fox? Yes. I'm a fox. Now you might want to focus, those idiots are coming. Naruto looked around and noticed that two of them left the group and went to the sides of the bleachers. Both climbing up, this made it to where he couldn't easily escape from either side. So talking to you leads to spacing out. I'll keep that in mind. By the way, you seem pretty cool. I'm the best. There was still 3 in front of him, and they had taken a few steps back in order to keep watch on him. He couldn't run without them following, and he couldn't just jump down because they'd be right there. Oh, Kitsun, what you going to do? He isn't a fox, why do you call him that? Like how I'm a tiger, he's got a fox. So he's like me? I'm trying to enjoy the show, kitten, please. How do you know so much about this fox? Oh, me and Kitsun go way back, like way back. Great times, best times. So how is he like me? From what I understand, he isn't from here. He isn't. Kitsun and I was separate long ago. Nibby began to sound sadder than before. I don't know how he's here, but I'm happy that he is. Yeah? Well, the kid is a moron and an idiot and a fool and a complete useless person, Yujito said with annoyance. How was her first friend so fond of this dumb kid? Relax. Enjoy the show. Besides, I already told you, things aren't as they seem with him. Yujito rolled her eyes and growled. Samui heard this and turned to her. Is everything okay? Yes. Okay, what is he going to do? Not sure. Let's go. No point staying. Class will end soon. But it's just getting. Come on. We don't want to be late, and we have to change. Samui sighed in defeat. Okay then. It was just getting good. Naruto watched as the 2 girls left and frowned. Though he wasn't sure why. He didn't know them at all. He just felt something similar about the blonde long-haired girl. Still, now he needed to leave. He looked around for a way out, and about 5 feet above him was a large vent. He smirked and cracked his neck. Well, I'll see you guys later. It's time I make my escape. Good luck next time. The 5 kids got confused and watched in surprise as Naruto turned to the wall and seemed to bounce on his toes to get ready. He took an explosive step to the wall and was able to make 2 strides upwards against the wall, and with his right hand, reached up and caught the ledge of the vent. With his left hand, he reached up and pulled it open while performing a muscle up and climbed into the vent. He turned around while crouched and waved bye before backing and closing the vent while leaving. Did he just go 5 feet up the wall and climb into a vent? Yes. Yes, he did. How? We will make him pay, the leader said and turned away. He was angry with his fists balled up and walked out of the gym. At that same moment the bell rang. Naruto was walking around the academy and went to his next class. This would be the weapons class, and here would be where they learned kunai/shuriken throwing, and sword training. Or whatever weapon they took interest in. That or they could try learning multiple. Not many did, however. Most stuck with the kunai and shuriken since that was standard and the others weren't necessary. When he walked in, the senseis all stood at a weapon of their mastery. There was one with a katana, another at a chikuto. For just about every sword, there was a master. Of course, some of them had mastery over a few swords, if not all, but they chose their favorite sword. There was a master of nunchucks, the bow, staff, bows and arrows, and a few others' weapons. There of course stood the sensei that would instruct the kunai and shuriken lessons as well. They all stood in a presentation manner for the class to walk through like a gallery. Most were just going to go the normal sensei for the kunai and shuriken, but this have the opportunity for the few that would like to learn another weapon or weapons, to see all the many options they had. Naruto looked and felt compelled to go to the many swords that were available. So he followed the instinct and went to the group of Kenjutsu masters. They all smiled at seeing him come. The Reikage told them that an Uzumaki would be amongst the class and they were excited to teach the young Uzumaki. They were known as Kenjutsu masters, every one of them. They just had an affinity to the style and learned it faster than any other. They felt it as a great honor to teach Kenjutsu to one of the last Uzumaki members. Hello? My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I feel drawn to the sword and would be honored to learn the ways of the sword. Naruto bowed when he approached them, and the Kenjutsu masters were happy to see that he had respect at such a young age. Many kids were arrogant and disrespectful to adults. They thought they were the shit. In reality, they were literally just kids. They learned quickly how weak and worthless they truly were, though. Some stayed arrogant but understood where they stood amongst a true shinobi. Hello, young Naruto. Do you know which sword you'd like to learn? I teach the katana he. Is it possible to learn them all? Every single Kenjutsu master smiled. Yes. They all said unanimously. Naruto smiled. Also, is it possible to learn the disciplines of every weapon? A child referring to the art of weaponry as a discipline was something they never expected from him. Learning the art style of a weapon was easy enough, but to be a true master over a weapon was to understand that the form was a way of life. The weapon is an extension of oneself. When you understood that and believed in its ways as a path of life, you reached a whole other level of mastery. It's not something anyone has done before leaving the academy, but it can be done through time. Naruto nodded in understanding. I would like to learn the discipline of every weapon that I can be taught then. They smiled and nodded to Naruto. We begin the classes tomorrow. Since you already know your plan, you are free to go home. Naruto nodded and bowed one last time. See you tomorrow, senseis. They returned the bow and watched as Naruto left. At the same time they said can't wait. Omo raised an eyebrow as he and Karui entered the room and saw the ending interaction of Naruto and the Kenjutsu senseis. Omo and Karui both went to the Kenjutsu masters as they knew that was the weapon they wanted to learn. Naruto was walking through the academy and ran into the short blonde-haired girl. He smiled and waved at her. So how did it end? Yujito had us leave it was just getting good too. Oh, so Yujito is her name. Yeah, she isn't too fond of you. Oh? I don't have many fans, I guess. Well, to answer your question, that vent that was above me? Yeah, I climbed through there. What? How'd you get that high up without any help? I have my ways. I'm Naruto, by the way. Samui? Where are you going? Nice to meet you, Samui. I'm going home. Finished my requirements of the weapons class. Samui nodded. Okay, makes sense. See you around. Naruto turned away and as he walked away, waved bye without even looking at her. Yujito walked up to Samui. What did he want? Nothing. Just said hi. He's a nice kid. Maybe you're wrong about him. Yujito rolled her eyes and shook her head. The two then began to leave since they too were done. Kitten, he most definitely didn't run into her by a mere accident. What do you mean? Kitsune never stops until he finds what is of interest to him. He came for a reason. What reason would that be? I'm not all-knowing, Kitten. Just know he doesn't do things by accident. Yujito nodded and continued walking. So this Naruto kid was a moron and a stalker of sorts. What was he stalking? What was his prey that he was searching for? So many questions surrounded the boy, and it only made him more of an annoyance. Everyone was always straightforward, but this boy just never stops being a mystery. That, and now she learned that he was like her. Did he know as well that they are the same? That they're both Jinchuriki? She knew from the moment she could understand that she may become a Jinchuriki, then she did become one, and has been always learning more about what it meant. When she was 6, Ianbi took her to the Waterfall of Truth. This was when her connection to Matatabi, Nibi, was strengthened and the two always talked ever since. Was Naruto like that with this fox that Matatabi can't stop going on about? She got annoyed at all the questions and decided not to think about it. Naruto was entering his district and went towards Trey's shop. He had a promise to keep. When the shop came into view, he couldn't help but feel happier. A smile broke his face and he went in. When he did though, Kira was standing there with her arms crossed and did not look too happy. Hey. How's it going, Kira? What's is this I heard about you getting into fights? Yua, I'm still being watched? They wanted to see how you'd do. You didn't do anything too out of the norm aside from the fighting. Okay, I didn't fight, they came at me. I just managed to piss them off more by getting away a couple times. Kira huffed him. You make any friends at least? I met a guy named Oma. I guess he counts. Kira nodded and sighed before smiling. Just take it seriously, okay? I know. I didn't expect to have the drama that went on to happen, they just had some sort of grudge with outsiders. Yeah, outsiders tend to be treated like crap. You just have to work harder and show them that you're just as good. Most outsiders fail because they can't keep up. The atmosphere and climate here is entirely different than any other place. It's hard to excel here unless you were born and taught here from the start. I'm not going to be as good. I don't care about that. I am going to master every weapon in 4 years though. But aside from that, I won't try to be on the same ground as them. Why not? Why do you want to be worse? You do know that it will impact your career, right? It will affect who your Jonin sensei is. Also, mastering every weapon in 4 years? That's never been done. A ninja is all about deception, Kira. I won't try to show out because it defeats that purpose. Besides, the sensei I get will be the one meant for me. How would you know? Because I'll be chosen. How do you know that? Kira, you know I won't answer that. Now, tomorrow, classes start. I have captured the flag, and day 1 of weapons training. The other class I don't even know what's going on and there I kinda didn't pay attention. You should. You'll learn about chakra and tactics in there. I'll pay attention when they teach that then. I'll see you later, Kira. Bye, Naruto. I restocked your peach tea by the way. I also got you some raspberry tea to try. Thank you. You're the best. I know. Kira giggled and hugged Naruto before watching him run off in pure excitement. He really does like that tea, haha. Capture the flag. Alright, Naruto, what's the plan? Omo, why do I have to make the plan? It's obvious that you're smarter than you let on. So go on. Make a plan for us. Naruto looked at the circle that he and his teammates formed and sighed. Guys, I'm sure there's someone better suited for this. I've never even played this in my life. What? One of the boys said. Why is that a surprise? Dude, we all have played this growing up. It's one of the most basic but most useful games. And who are you? Rin. Well, Rin, I wasn't born here, remember? I didn't get taught this stuff. Besides, if you guys grew up to this, then you're obviously more qualified. Naruto. Naruto looked to the red-headed girl. Karui, right? She nodded. If Omo is putting his trust in you, then you just need to do it. But Rin here said y'all grew up to this. And yet you were chosen. Naruto rolled his eyes. Look, all I know is that the goal is to get their flag without losing ours. We'll send the fastest person to go get it. Everyone nodded and broke apart to get ready. Naruto sighed. I didn't make much of a plan, y'all could have said that. He shook his head and took his spot. They wore flags around their waists since they haven't been given any training in fighting yet. So if they took one of the flags from the belt, you were out for the round. Naruto looked around. They were in a forested area and there were plenty of dense areas of bushes and trees. There also were plenty of open areas. Once the combat training was given, the open areas would be definitely put into use, but at the moment, he figured everyone would stick to the dense parts. It only made sense, it was more hidden and you wouldn't be seen as easily. This made it to where no one paid much attention to the clearings, most thinking it would be practically suicide to try to cross through there. That would serve perfectly for him. Do what is least expected. Even if they were given training, when they learned the use of weaponry and especially those that took up archery, a clearing would still be suicide. No one had any weaponry though, so he figured he could make it. Still, that was an odd route to take since no one saw it as viable. What would you expect from someone like Naruto though? Yujito was with her team before the round started and the basis of their strategy would be to try to ambush as many of the others' ideas as possible. They were going to win by eliminating them rather than focusing on the flag. This way, it was a more demoralizing blow to the other team, and could give them momentum over them for the next matches. If they won here, in an overwhelming fashion, then their confidence would go up while the others would go down. In many fights or sports, and games such as this, confidence tended to be a huge factor. Okay, Yujito, stay back on defense. The rest of us will go take out the other team. You're only leaving one to defend the flag? Samly said. The route they have to take, none should make it past us. If they do, it might only be 1 or 2. Yeah, none will make it past our ambush. The 2 main planners of the team felt confident that no one would get past them. Then again, the plan was simple and the margin of error was really small. It was highly unlikely for them to fail, given their location. Kitten, don't get too laxed. Why not? The plan is flawless. No one will get past it. You underestimate him too much. What do you mean? That stupid blonde idiot? He always finds a way to surprise. Whatever. He is nothing special. The moron will fall for the trap like everyone else. Naruto sighed as the voice of the sensei Naruto rang through the forest. She was saying the countdown for the match to begin. She started from 10 and worked her way down. Omoi tapped Naruto's shoulder and gave him a nod to show that he was ready. Naruto returned the nod and Karui had a smile. Everyone was bouncing on the balls of their feet, trying to psych themselves up. The match began and everyone ran into the dense forested area at full speed. Naruto watched for a second and shook his head. Then he simply walked towards the clearing and began walking to his objective. Naruto was walking calmly and peacefully. In fact, his hands were in his pockets and the difference in his uniform for the class was that he had a red sleeveless jersey on. The other team had a blue sleeveless jersey. He looked at the sky and smiled as he heard the shouts coming from the denser part of the forest. It was amusing, but he kept walking. He took a couple wristbands from his pockets and out them on. Eventually the flag came into view and he smirked. He stepped to the flag and sighed. "So, how long are you going to hide?" he said as he looked at the flag. "How do you know I was here?" "That's not the question you want to ask, Yujito." "You know my name?" Naruto smirked as she jumped down from a tree to be in front of him. "Yeah. Your friend told me." "Kitten, be careful." "Why? What could he possibly do?" "Just be careful. And it seems that I know his interest now." "What is it?" Matatabi just chuckled. "I'm not going to say. Focus up." Yujito shook her head and looked up to see Naruto still standing there. "Well, how did you get here?" Naruto turned to the clear path and the open areas. Her jaw dropped at his chosen route, and he smiled. "Yeah, your team had the better geological advantage, and I figured an ambush would be set." "And you didn't warn your team?" "Why would I?" "Do you not care about them?" "Not really, no. This is a game, and it was funny to hear them fall for the ambush. I also knew you'd be the one to stay behind." "Oh? How is that?" "You keep to yourself, and are always annoyed around everyone else. The only person you seem to talk to is Samui. Nice girl, by the way." "What are you planning?" "Why does everyone think I'm planning something? I'm just coasting by this game." "That's not what I'm talking about. You know this." Naruto smirked. "It is so easy to get under your skin. I'm going to be taking this flag now." "You think it'll be that easy?" She got ready to try to defend the flag and watched as Naruto just chuckled. "More or less, I guess I lied a bit when I said I was just coasting in this game." Naruto reached into his wristbands and took out two small gray spheres that he held, one between his index and middle fingers while the other was between his pinky and ring fingers. He raised his hand up and watched her seem to look confused. "What is that going to do?" "Let me," when he quickly sent his arm downwards and released the two spheres to the ground. Once they made contact, the ground was enveloped in smoke, and it quickly spread out and around them. He grabbed the flag he needed and decided to mess with her more while she coughed. "I was going to let you try chasing me and it would have been fun, but I think this will annoy you more." He spoke from behind her, and then kicked the inside of her knee to make her fall to knee. He pushed her to the ground and she laid there stuck while he placed a knee on her back, keeping her down. "What are you doing?" she said, a little strained since his full weight was on her. "Taking you out of the game." He reached down to her hip and removed her flags and laughed a bit. "Besides, this makes it more embarrassing for you for when your team returns. It'll look like you lost the fight. I wonder how that will affect your image? See you around." She clenched her fist in the ground and growled at him as he was on her. "I'll get you back. You'll pay. I will never lose to you again." Naruto pat her shoulder. "Sure. Good seeing you, Yujito." He smiled, although she couldn't see it, and got off of her. Just as he did, the smoke cleared and she saw that he was nowhere to be seen. The belt that held her flags was beside her, and she growled in anger. Naruto just effortlessly beat her and won the game for his team, taking a route no one would ever consider and tricking her before humiliating her. She was livid, and even more when she thought about how he could just seem so casual. How he just said it was nice seeing her like it was just a normal meeting. He literally had full control over her and just beat her, yet acted nice. The dumb bastard thought she'd fall for that? Hell no! "I tried to warn you." "Warn me? How did you warn me?" "I told you not to underestimate him. I told you to be careful." "That doesn't help. I was ready, and yet he just easily beat me." Just like his path to the flag, he took you on without being direct. Kitten, he will never just plan to take you on directly. I'm sure even he knows you'd win. You've been trained growing up, he obviously hasn't but won because he was more creative. I won't lose again. Just learn from this. There's plenty you could learn. Yujito growled whatever. He embarrassed me today. It will be the last time. Just then, Sensei Numida announced Red Team's victory. It was met by the confusion of Blue Team and cheers of Red Team. However, they too were a little confused. No one had broken through yet, and it didn't look like they would. When everyone met up where the sensei was, the class sat down and was given water. Naruto Uzumaki captured Blue Team's flag and returned it to Red's. How, Sensei? We never saw him even come with us, Rin said. He didn't. He went through the clear path. Everyone looked at Naruto with disbelief. He really went around everything? His team looked at him annoyed. Did he know that there would be a potential ambush by Blue Team? Everyone then saw how dirty Yujito was since the entire front of her uniform was covered in dirt, and her right knee was pretty scuffed up and covered in dirt. What happened to you? Samui said. Yujito just growled and noticed that Naruto was looking at her with a smile. This just made her glare at him. You're playing with fire, kid. Oh, you're back. Yeah, I know, but she's entertaining. Don't say I didn't warn you. So are you a friend? Sure. You're not too bad. Be entertaining like that more often and maybe we'll talk more. Is there anything I should know about you? Oh, your old village hates me. Yeah? Yep. Makes two of us. Whoever you are, I'd like to get to know you. Maybe. Naruto watched as everyone was getting up and figured it was time to go. When they returned to the academy, he was walking through the halls and had finished changing. He placed a bag with that uniform in his locker and turned around to see a pissed-off Yujito. Whoa, how'd you know this was my locker? She looked around him and the locker had been written all over, calling him out for being an outsider. He nodded in understanding and sighed as she threw him against the locker and held him against it. How can you still be perfectly calm? I could literally beat the shit out of you right now. Naruto smirked and placed his hands on her arm that was against his chest, making her dig her arm in more. Because you won't right now at least. As tough as you act, you'll still follow the rules and won't risk suspension. She snarled and backed away. I hate you. Oh? I don't hate you. You're interesting. See you around, Yujito. Naruto began to walk away. Don't walk away from me. Oh? I thought you'd want me to. Don't you hate me? He said without turning around and continued walking. I really hate him. Relax, kitten. You're just feeding his entertainment. Yujito shook her head and left. The last class of the day. Weapons training. At least within Naruto's schedule. For others it could be the physical training, or the lecture classes respectively. He was slightly late as his altercation with Yujito made him take longer, but he wasn't complaining. She was one entertaining person, probably the most entertaining. Especially since it was so easy to get under her skin. Still though, she hated his guts and that wasn't something that he was entirely happy about, but oh well. Entertainment first? Omoy and everyone else of the class was seated, learning all about kunai and its uses. Everyone went there but he wasn't told that it was mandatory, so rather than go join them, he made his way to the right side of the room where there was a door. When he went through the door, he saw the other weapons masters seated around conversing. They seemed to notice him, and all turned to face him. Of course the Uzumaki would be the only one to enter. They weren't complaining though, except the other masters that weren't of the sword. But knew they'd get their turn at seeing an Uzumaki since the Kenjutsu masters made it known that Naruto wanted to master every weapon. An ambitious goal, that if it wasn't an Uzumaki making such a proclamation, they would have shook it off and not believed it. Since it was Naruto, such a proclamation only seemed fitting. When the Raikage came to learn of this, he laughed and told them to be ready. And here Naruto was. How can we help you? One of the senseis said. I'd like to begin my training with a sword. The Kenjutsu masters stood up. Which will you start with? One of them said. Naruto looked amongst the different blades. Let's go with the traditional katana. Good choice. I'm Master Ishinto. Naruto bowed and everyone separated to provide the two some room. The room was larger than the class was and it looked more fit for sparring. Master Ishinto tossed a wooden word shaped like a katana to Naruto. Make a few swings with it. Naruto nodded as he caught the fake katana. He looked at it, and felt it for a second to get a feel on how it was. After the moment, he made a few swings and awaited a response. Not bad, you have a good stance and flow of movement. Good transfer of power. You have one issue though, that I'm sure everyone noticed right away. Master Ishinto said as he looked around and getting a nod from his peers. Naruto waited patiently. Swinging a sword is not the same as swinging a bat. You must treat the sword as an extension of yourself. The various masters all unsheathed their sword of choice and went through a few movements to demonstrate the point. Naruto watched Master Ishinto do a few movements and began to mirror what he was watching. First with the footwork and then implementing the wooden sword. The masters all smiled at Naruto beginning to cope without needing to be told. Unspoken lessons would be a norm with the kid apparently. That was better for them honestly. Spending less time lecturing things, and just getting to work. Of course they'd speak key points but, for the most part, Naruto was clearly a hands-on learner. Taught better through experience. Capture the flag game 2. Okay Naruto, what do you know that we could use to benefit us? Rin said. They were in a new stage. This was a rocky and rough terrain. The space was bigger than the one previous but it was more open in a sense. Trees and bushes weren't everywhere, instead massive boulders and jagged-out croppings were everywhere. Naruto looked at Rin and chuckled slightly. What do you mean? What makes you think I have any knowledge of our area? Everyone looked at him with a plain face, clearly not buying his bullcrap. Do I really need to explain? Okay, first off, I don't know everything. I just noticed the way the ground was last round. They had elevation and looking ahead it got denser on their side. Yet you could have brought up their advantages over us and didn't. Carrie said. Naruto looked at her with a frown. I didn't want to make the plan in the first place. I didn't think you guys would literally run in blind. Figured Omoy or someone else would come up with something better. That or you noticed the advantage they had? You also knew we'd be a massive distraction, snuck around and managed to get us the flag and win. Oma said. Naruto sighed. I didn't sneak. I walked. Guys, I'm not exactly a strategist. Just took a chance and it worked because you guys ran in like crazy together. Still they felt there was more to him, but there was no point trying to argue on the past match. Do you have anything that could help us out here? Rin said. Naruto closed his eyes to think. Well, given how we won last time, I'm sure they won't allow that to happen again. Omoy nodded. Yeah, they'll spread out more and not allow there to be wide open paths. So if we all mob rush again, we'll surely break through and get a flag. Rin said with a chuckle. Sounds great. Karui's sweat dropped. Were they really planning on mob rushing again? All based on Naruto measly saying that they wouldn't allow a simple walk-in. That meant so many things though. Dumb boys. She thought, shaking her head. Naruto's eyes widened in sudden shock as if remembering something. Oh. Here. Take one of these. Naruto took off his backpack and opened it up to them. Inside were rubber kunai and a couple jars of paint. What's this for? Carrie said. Naruto smirked. Naruto-sensei said we'd be implementing all we learned within the games we play, right? Everyone nodded. Yesterday, you guys began to learn about kunai. So we'll use rubber kunai to take them out of the game. You're a genius. This is far faster than going for a flag. Carrie said. Naruto nodded with a smile. And the paint? Oma said. Well, we need proof that we struck them. They will hate us, Oma said. Naruto just laughed. I'm sure Sensei was going to have us do something like this eventually. How do you know the other team won't do the same? Rin said after getting his kunai and dipping it in the paint. Did you see anyone else bring a bag? Naruto simply said and everyone smiled. Where'd you get all these anyways? Carrie said. Naruto smiled again. They were in a crate within the class when we were taking attendance. Sensei even saw me getting them, and when she didn't say anything to stop me aside from smiling, I knew it was okay. Everyone's jaw dropped. Did they really not notice the crate of kunai? Now that they thought about it, they'd seen it, just didn't think much of it since Sensei Naruto hadn't said anything. Leave it to Naruto to be the one to do what others wouldn't. I only have enough to give everyone too, so don't try throwing them. Unless you're sure you can hit. Naruto, most of us know how to throw them, so we're good. Carrie said. Well, not all of us have been trained like that. Everyone looked at him for a second. Am I really the only one? Naruto shook his head like, Omoy might be better than Rin, Everyone nodded slowly. They all were thinking that Naruto really wasn't trained and didn't know how to throw kunai properly. This was something bizarre to them. Kumobikyo was one of the most militaristic villages out there, and every family always had at least one member going into the shinobi arts every generation. Whether it was 1 kid or 10 kids, generally one of them became a ninja. When you look at families, within every single one, several members have been shinobi. So hearing someone like Naruto not having any training? That sounded insane. But then again, he was an outsider, and from what those 5 boys said and some being in his homeroom class, he had no parents. There were families in the village with no shinobi lineage, but that wasn't many. Most of them were the ones that ran shops, restaurants, and whatnot. Even them, though, had children that became shinobi too. Over on Yujito's side, she was pacing back and forth getting ready to destroy Naruto when he would arrive. Her team had backed away from her since she was going off on anyone who crossed her path. Calm down, kitten. You won't be able to think clearly like this. I'm fine. Bastard's going to get his. About that. What? I feel something bad's about to happen. Yujito stopped pacing and was confused. What could possibly happen? Dude showed his hand. He relied entirely on diversionary tactics. In a head-on confrontation, she was the stronger of the two. He showed it when he couldn't get away from her until she let him in the hall. Despite him cleverly stating a fact, she wasn't fooled. That was his only way out. There was nothing stopping her from pummeling him right then aside from the consequence of suspension. When he beat her, it was through smoke and tricking her. Both situations, he went with a non-direct path. Yujito had him figured out, and now she wouldn't lose again. The countdown began as their time to strategize was ending. She smiled and focused all her attention ahead of her. Straight ahead was Naruto, and she would show him just how far apart they were. She was the best, and the apex predator, he was the prey. Tricks wouldn't save him from her this time. There were no consequences for beating anyone up while in this class. She was going to take full advantage of this. Sensei Naruto announced the start of the match, and Yujito smiled even wider. She began running straight ahead with a few others, and soon the other team came into view. They were all in a mob and were holding 2 weapons kunai. She noticed Naruto in the back as he winked at her. Instantly, Yujito understood that he was the one to bring the kunai in to beat them far faster. It was easier to slash someone rather than take a flag. She scowled and got angry that he managed to find and capitalize on another advantage. With complete disregard of the objectives and of those around her, she ran around the mob and was headed towards Naruto at full speed. Naruto sighed as he watched her coming. Should have expected that. He stood his ground though and awaited her arrival. She charged and without saying a word, came up to him and punched him in the jaw with all her strength. His head was turned harshly down and to the right as he stood a slight step back with his left foot. He began working his jaw and looked right at her. Again she hit him, on the other side forcing the same reaction except towards his left. Again he looked at her, and now she jumped into Superman punch and hit him square on the nose. He took 2 steps back and looked a little groggy as he sort of waved back and forth while standing. Still he just looked up to her, and she didn't get it. Why wasn't he fighting? Why wouldn't he defend himself? Why was he just taking it? A small, weak, and by far the saddest smile she ever saw came across his face. You don't understand. Guess I was wrong about you. Naruto began to lose his balance, but she caught his collar, pulling him to her face. What are you babbling about? He chuckled weakly. It doesn't matter anymore. What? What doesn't? Are you happy, Yujito? She looked confused at him. You've gotten to beat me up. Is that not what you wanted? Yujito didn't know what to say. It was true, all she wanted to do was eviscerate him, and yet now she only felt conflicted. He never even tried. He just took her beating, letting her release all her anger and frustration. He just saved her reputation and image willingly without so much as a complaint or cry of pain. Just what the hell was up with this kid? Why was he such a mystery? Why couldn't he just be the moron she said he was? Why can't he be just like everyone else and be one-dimensional and easy to read? It frustrated her even more and made her hate him for being so unknown. She could read anyone, yet he was an enigma. She hated the unknown. It was dangerous. Naruto was the biggest unknown she ever came across, and just as she thought that she had him figured out, he comes and throws a curveball. Just what was she supposed to do with that? She hated him so much it was ridiculous. I don't know anymore. Shame, I really thought that you would be happy. Naruto was losing his balance again, but she stabilized him. Funny, isn't it? That even though you beat me, I still won. He smiled that same sad smile she saw, and his eyes didn't seem so bright anymore. The blue seemed cold. There was an announcement saying that Naruto's team won, and she still held him. Confused more than ever. This poor kid, Matatabi thought while looking at the boy being held in Yujito's grip. Kitten, just go. I don't get him at all, it makes no sense. Pray that you never do. What's that supposed to mean? That's not for me to tell. Matatabi could read the boy's soul from just gazing into his eyes. What she saw was something that she hoped Yujito would never have. Yujito shook her head and let Naruto go. He stumbled a bit, but his eyes never left hers. She couldn't help but feel frozen in his gaze. It was like he was entirely disappointed and no longer knew what to do. He was lost. Where did that seemingly cocky and confident kid go? When others began coming to the two, his eyes changed from the cold, depressed and suppressed blue to his bright blue. He adorned a smile, and for the first time, she realized that he was faking. Putting up a front and living a persona that wasn't his own when others were around. She had a glimpse to who he truly was. Who else saw it? And was this the last time she would? Why did she care? In her mind, she still hated every cell of his being, and yet she can't deny that she felt more curious about him. At every point she thought she knew just who he was, he would flip it entirely on her head and show that she really knew nothing. Nothing but what he let her think she knew. Naruto Uzumaki, just who the hell are you? She thought as he turned away and followed the class back to the academy. Yujito trailed behind and couldn't stop thinking about that look in his eyes. The smile that only portrayed a deep sadness. This was how Naruto truly was, and although it was only a glimpse, just what has caused this for him? How did he hide that so well? The rest of the day came and went. While she was heading out, she noticed Naruto walking in the distance. It seemed odd because normally he was never seen, but curiosity took the best of her, and she wanted some answers. Yujito decided to start following Naruto to wherever he went. Maybe there would be some explanation of who this kid was. Naruto by now showed no signs of having been beaten by Yujito earlier on and looked fine. He walked about the streets per usual. He came across a news shop. It wasn't there previously, so he figured, why not check it out? He walked in and noticed it was sort of like a bakery and had sweets. They had other stuff as well, but for the most part, it was mainly quick treats. He shrugged and decided why not try something. Hey, what you got? The owner turned and smiled. She was roughly a 30-year-old woman with purple hair and green eyes. Well, I have a large variety. What would you like? Naruto frowned slightly. I don't exactly know. Here. I have some freshly made sweet dumplings. It is just like a normal dumpling, just sweeter. So it won't be too drastic of a change from what you're used to. Naruto nodded slowly. Never had a dumpling, he thought to himself, but took them nonetheless. He tried one and his eyes widened. More. Please, more. My God, this is good. The woman laughed. Sure thing. Naruto reached in his pockets and counted out his money that he was saving for a while and gladly paid the woman. As he left with his box with a smile, he called out, "Thank you, Dumpling-san." The woman laughed and went back to her oven to take out some more sweets that had been ready. Naruto walked towards trays and was greeted by Kira at the entrance. She saw him carrying a box and was a little surprised but smiled as usual. She gave him a hug and the two started talking. From a distance, Yujito looked on and wondered if this was his family. But didn't he have no parents and family? Well, he could have been adopted, but those 5 kids treated it like he wasn't. So who were they to him? The two went into the shop and she just waited. So Naruto, how was your day? He don't seem as you usually do. I don't know, Kira. It was fine, I guess. Just disappointed. Why's that? Naruto shook his head. I was wrong about someone. Kira raised an eyebrow. In what way? Naruto closed his eyes and thought for a moment. Deciding to just tell her, he opened his eyes and looked at her. I thought someone was like me. We are not. How do you know? They couldn't understand. They don't get it. I was a fool to think she could. Naruto? Naruto looked up to see her shake her head and chuckle slightly. What? Naruto, no one can just simply understand one another that simply. Even harder with you knowing that you don't outright say anything. No one can read minds. Besides, people might be similar, but it doesn't mean they'll understand one another. You could be wrong. Naruto nodded. Perhaps. I just thought that we were the same. Who is this girl to you? She had an amused smile and a glint in her eyes. Little Naruto getting a crush? Naruto just looked at her blankly and shrugged. She's interesting and very amusing. Oh, poor girl, she must hate you. Naruto just smiled and she shook her head. Well, I'm going to get going. Kira nodded and walked him out of the shop and hugged him goodbye. She noticed someone in the distance and narrowed her eyes slightly. When Naruto began leaving, she noticed the person start to follow as well. Naruto got to his place at the peak and entered. Yujito saw the massive stone door from her position as he literally entered the mountain peak. He lived in a damn mountain? She thought it was kinda cool but didn't get to think long when a kunai was placed at her throat. What are you doing? You're just a kid, I'm sorry. I noticed you were following Naruto, and well kinda jumped to conclusions. Yujito turned around to see the girl she saw Naruto greet and didn't know what to do. I was just curious. What does the Jinchuriki want with Naruto? Kira just put the kunai away and started walking Yujito down from the peak. What made you so curious as to follow Naruto around? I don't do this ever. I swear. Just he's usually coming off as cocky and seems like he just knows everything. He is an annoying and frustrating person that just loves to rub people the wrong way and particularly takes enjoyment out of angering me. So far Kira was nodding along. Naruto can come off as all of those. Just one of his personas that he will take on. Then why the sudden interest? I don't really know, just something is off about him. Today all that seemed to be torn away, like he changed instantly. It was only for a really short time but it spoke volumes. Made me question him even more. What is it? I saw his eyes. Kira raised an eyebrow and waited for Yujito to gather her thoughts. Okay, so they're always this bright and deep blue, sort of like the ocean. But for a moment, they dulled and became really cold it seemed. He also gave me a smile but it was so weak and portrayed nothing of happiness, just total sadness. The same with his eyes. I just didn't understand how he's like that. He acts just fine and cocky and aggravating but then does a full 180? Kira nodded. So this is the girl he spoke about. Kira looked down towards Yujito and smiled. Yeah, he's an interesting one. Not even just that. He completely and totally embarrassed me and destroyed me during a match yesterday. He even said it was for his amusement. Then adds to it when I confronted him in anger by just shaking it off as no big deal and being a total jerk. Yet today, he of course won UPS my team again, but when I come to fight him and try to get payback, he didn't fight back at all. Just took it. And when I looked at him in confusion about what happened and everything, he goes to say he was wrong about me. That I didn't understand. What was I supposed to understand? I don't know. He's very cryptic about these things. Weirdest thing was, he actually seemed nice. Said he wanted to make me happy so he let me beat him up without a single complaint. He didn't cry, didn't make a sound, nothing. That's odd. He's a nice kid. Yujito gave her a look of doubt which made her chuckle. He really is. You just gotta pay attention. I just also hate that I can't really read him at all. I can normally read people pretty easily but I just don't understand. He came off as an utter retard when we first met. Then he becomes an annoying cocky idiot but always seems a step ahead. Now he seems utterly depressed and lonely. I just don't understand. My best advice about him, don't try reading him like that. You'll get nowhere. He'll just show you what he wants you to think. You just have to go by how he treats you or by his actions. Because if you think about it, you'll see what I mean when I say he really is a nice person. Yujito shook her head and the two separated. I wonder if those two will ever be friends. There was always more he could have done to make things worse for people. For me even there was more he could have done to beat me rather than just dirty my clothes pretty much. He's still a jerk though. 1 year later. Naruto. Naruto. Naruto, wake up. Naruto slowly looked up and his eyes were squinted, trying to adjust to the light. He yawned and finally got adjusted. What's up? What were we talking about? History. On what, Mr. Uzumaki? Naruto looked at his sensei of the class. Still not knowing his name, he looked around the room with his eyes and noticed the board. Second Great Ninja War? Omo was holding back the laughter to this point. Naruto was at the bottom of this class for his continued sleeping and lack of attention. He had to admit though, the class was really boring. All this was about was history for the past year, so it was understandable that anyone would be bored. Leave it to an outsider to not care about the village's history. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the man. Is that supposed to mean something? A lazy and slacker of a person like yourself, at being an outsider on top of that, and it's only a matter of time until you fail out. A miracle how you haven't yet already. Omoy kind of looked away from the teacher and towards Naruto at that point. Although he didn't show it, Naruto was no slacker. He worked harder than anyone he'd ever seen. Naruto already mastered the sword styles that the academy taught. There were still more out there, but he mastered the ones that were offered. He was currently working on the bow. On top of that, he was developing to be one of the top Shurikenjutsu students. It was slow for him at first, but he worked at it. So to call Naruto lazy and a slacker were the furthest from the truth. Now Naruto wasn't giving a good impression and never did. He never cared or found interest in the class. The funny thing is, he knew what was being taught, he still learned it all, just not from the sensei. Omoy agreed that their sensei kind of sucked, but at least he paid attention. But that was Naruto for you, he enjoyed aggravating people for his amusement. Naruto just stared at the man and chuckled. Yeah, miracle, huh? Out of curiosity, do the other senseis and you talk? No. Ah, makes sense. Well, since it's a miracle, that means I'm here to stay, right? That is how miracles work, they don't just disappear. Omoy chuckled quietly. He had a point. That is Naruto 500, Sensei 0. Naruto was undefeated in the game. No sleeping. Just then the bell rang and the class left the room. Omoy turned to Naruto as they were headed to the locker room to change for the next class. Well, Naruto, you're still undefeated in that battle. Yeah. I guess so. Why so down, my friend? Naruto shrugged. Look, man, I know you're dreading this, but it's going to get better. It's so boring. I prefer these next two. Well, it would be better with a different sensei. I like learning, he just sucks at teaching. I don't even know the dude's name. Yeah, I know. But that wasn't what I was talking about. I know it's getting increasingly harder to beat Yujito. She has learned how to target me better, and now it is not so fun. I miss my never-ending amusement. Naruto? Yeah? You sure you ain't into her? Dude. No. Listen, it's just like with no-name sensei, I enjoy aggravating others. Her reactions were the most amusing and easiest to cause. Nothing more to it. If you say so. Have I ever been one to lie? Omoy just looked at him. Okay, but I don't lie to you. Guess you have a point. Any new ideas? Well, I did, but I haven't found a way to make it work yet. What is it? So I got these from my friend's shop. Naruto showed him a tag with a seal on it. These are like explosive tags but aren't deadly, they emit blinding light in a flash and stun others. Issue is, it requires chakra to activate for you be able to utilize it. I haven't found a workaround. Omoy looked at him wide-eyed and whispered. Naruto, you don't know how to channel your chakra? Naruto shook his head. Never been taught. Omoy nodded and understood. Naruto, you know something? For all the disadvantages you face with not having any backing of a clan or family, you always manage to still impress and remain around the top. Yeah, but not the top. Man, Yujito is a prodigy, and Samui is like her direct rival in that regard. Hell, I'm sure that if you weren't an outsider, they'd give you more respect in the rankings and you'd be up there as well. That's what I think is stupid. I've beaten the both of them and yet I get treated like I am the worst one here. Yeah, but in head-on one-on-one situations where you aren't able to exploit anything, they've won. I guess they don't see you as superior in skill, that you're solely situational, but that's all false. I know you're far more skilled, and if you had the tools that they have, you'd be the top, no doubt. Naruto smiled. I'm not saying that they are where they are just because of name, but I can't help sometimes feeling a bit I don't know. Jealous? Naruto nodded. It's normal. Even I'm jealous of those two. Like Yujito is lucky to be able to get training sessions with the Raikage and his brother. She does? Omoy nodded. Yeah, Carrie was told by Samui. And Samui's family has several high-ranking shinobi, so she's practically royalty. Naruto sighed as he threw his previous clothes into his locker after having changed during the conversation. Well, we'll prove that we don't need royalty to become the best. Omoy chuckled and the two fist bumped with a smile. The two left the locker room and entered the gym where the class was gathering after changing. When they walked in, Yujito and Samui were already out there. They were the only four in there and Omoy felt as if the temperature dropped. Well, if it isn't Uzumaki, Yujito said. What's up, Naruto? Hey, Oma. Samly said. Sup, Samly? Oma said, walking up with Naruto. Naruto gave a nod to Samly, and she smiled. He turned to Yujito and frowned. She wore her usual smirk to him, and was excited for today. They had come out on top last match, and she had a good feeling. I did warn you about tempting that flame. Sup, you're back. Been a few months. Yeah, sleep's great. You should try it. Well, it has been amusing, she just is getting harder to push as time goes on. You'll figure it out. I'm serious though, you'll need to start sleeping more. When you do start implementing chakra, it will be hard for you. Why? How do you know? Not the time. Just know it will help. Thanks, I guess. I'll sleep more when I can finally start working on even ground with the others. I have more work to do. That'll never happen for us. You'll always need to work harder than everyone around you. But you can't do that effectively without proper rest kit. Okay. I get the point. Naruto noticed other kids began walking in, and soon the sensei even walked in. He turned back to Yujito, who still had the smirk, and sighed. You know, I still come out on top more often than not. Not anymore, Uzumaki. I have you figured out. Do you now? Enlighten me. You can't fight. I didn't believe it at first, but I figured it out. You can take a beating, no doubt, but that's it. That's why every time you win, it's through distractions. Not anymore. So if I win by distractions, how are you supposed to be immune to my tricks, as you say? She got really close to Naruto, surprising him, and she looked down on the shorter boy. Mere inches from his face. Because I'm never going to let you get that chance again. I'll be in your face before you get to activate any strategy. Naruto smirked as he looked her in the eye. We'll see, Yujito. Glad you brushed your teeth, by the way. Omo and Samly chuckled slightly while Yujito just scowled. Of course, he didn't take her too seriously. All the more reason she despised him. He always shook her off as nothing special, while everyone praised the ground she walked on. Then again, it was why she respected him more than others. Respect didn't mean she had to be a fan of him though, and she didn't hide that. Attention class. Today we won't be playing capture the flag. Today we will start combative training. It's time you begin learning how to handle yourself in taijutsu. What you learn here will be a good stepping stone to the styles you all eventually will end up taking on. Also, no more flags from here on out. Taijutsu and the practice weapons will be your only way to eliminate players. Everyone got excited. Now began combative training, and they would show who was the strongest. Some had a bit more fear than others, but for the most part it was excitement that brewed between them. This would be how they separate themselves from each other. Their performance in combatives would highly impact rankings. For the most part, it was highly based on test scores. Now they'd hold sparring tournaments, and that would really show the type of shinobi they were. Oma looked to Naruto with a little worry for his friend. The kid had no clan, no family. He had no training coming into the academy, and has no backing of anyone. He's alone in this. Everyone here gets tutors and special clan amenities that Naruto wouldn't ever get access to. He's developed far greater than anyone ever expected, but even then, he still was technically behind. Everything taught he had to learn from scratch. Everyone else had at least known the basics of everything going into it all. They get training from fellow shinobi that were family, and that only pushes that advantage further. The main thing going for Naruto was his great ability of picking things up fast. He learned so much faster than everyone else in whatever he took on. At least things within practical use. If it was paper, he wasn't so great, but when learning the sword, he had every single one mastered in a year. It took normally more than that to even be a master of one. Omo wondered how far that quick learning went. Was it just with the weapons? Or could it go into things like taijutsu? What about ninjutsu? Either way, he'd get to see how well Naruto took on taijutsu very soon. Alright, so I'm sure your families have all worked with you in taijutsu in some way. So to see where you're all at, you'll be fighting in matches. Oma noticed Naruto tense slightly. This was probably the worst possible situation for Naruto. He was never one for direct confrontation, but now it was forced and contained. There was only one thing that could make it worse. Okay, so can we have Yujito-ni? Oma thought as she was talking. And Naruto Uzumaki come to the ring. Shiite. What's the plan, Naruto? Oma looked at Naruto, who sighed. Yujito had an excited smile on her face. The worst would happen. This would be interesting to say the least. Naruto was creative though, and when backed into a corner, he got dangerous. So maybe he can pull something out. Yujito had quickly went to the ring. It was 10 feet in diameter. She knew she had him where he couldn't do anything. There were no tricks he could do in this situation. She only really ever got to beat him that one time, every other time was more towards the team. But now it was just him. Naruto sighed as he walked in with his eyes closed. He stepped into the ring and said nothing, did nothing. Not even taking a stance. All he did was just stand lazily with his eyes shut. What's the matter, Uzumaki? Know you're about to be bested? Naruto said nothing. Just waited. Sensei Naruto began a countdown to start the match. The closer she got to the end, the more Yujito smiled and prepared while Naruto just remained standing still straight up with his eyes shut. The match was called to start, and Yujito was confused why Naruto still stood there motionless. She decided to charge, and as she did he opened his eyes slowly. Just like that time before, the blue wasn't bright, and it distracted her. She wondered what he was doing now. Naruto finally began to move. His eyes half open and took 2 steps to meet her, then lowered himself and dodged the punch and grabbed her collar, while using his other hand to wrap around her and his right foot to block the path of one of her legs. When he got in position, he swung her with his arms over the leg, making her fall, and he got on top of her and started to punch her in the face. She got completely surprised and didn't know where that came from. He wasn't supposed to know how to fight, so what was this? He managed to dodge her punch and take her down before she could react. When she opened her eyes in between punches and noticed something weird with his eyes. They were half open still, but the part that was the dull blue now seemed to have a red color. She didn't get to focus too much since a punch came right for her face, which she managed to dodge now that she actually got over her initial shock. She caught his hand before he could pull it back and with all her might punched the center of his wrist. There was a snapping sound and she felt his hand go limp in hers. She watched as his face winced slightly, but other than that, he showed no other sign of pain. Again, making no cry or sound, just like before. She still held his hand and pulled on it to try to cause him pain, but gained no reaction. She punched his face, sending him back a bit, and gave her room. She punched again and pushed him off her, then kicked him to gain separation. When she stood up, his hand hung limp and he just stood there looking at her. The red in his eyes gone, and the bright baby blue was back. He smiled at her, which made her tilt her head slightly. "You're far better than I expected, and I already had thought highly of you," he said after a few seconds. "How can you just not be bothered by your broken wrist?" Naruto's smile need to no basis. He ran at her and tried to kick her on the side of her gut. She bent her body away slightly, but it connected and she caught onto his leg. She could tell he had little to no experience, so his movements were slower, which made it easier to catch his limbs. She swung her right elbow over and dropped her body to gain more momentum and slammed it into his shin, causing a cracking sound. She charged forward while holding his leg and he managed to keep his balance rather well, but eventually she just got too fast and he fell over, not being able to keep up with his hops. She sat on his waist and started to punch him in the face as hard as possible. With each hit, the back of his head slammed into the ground and he got more and more bloodied. After 7 hits, she finally knocked him out and he just laid under her limp and unmoving. That is when she realized what she'd done and looked at her blood-covered hands. She saw the state he was in, and although he always angered her and she hated him, did he really deserve this? Maybe she went a little overboard. She knew he didn't have any true training, and yet he still managed to do decent up until she began to really get a bit serious and try anticipating opportunities. While she sat on him, she leaned over and started tapping his face. "And Naruto? Naruto, you okay?" Part of her really felt bad. She got caught up in the moment of the fight and lost control. It didn't need to get this bad, but it was never stopped at all due to the nature of the militaristic village. This in a sense was allowed and approved even. It wasn't something the senseis looked down on. If anything, this display only made her look like an even better prospect. "Come on, you stubborn annoying bastard. Wake up something." The sensei touched her shoulder and Yujito looked up. Naruto had a smile and congratulated her on her victory. She looked back down to the unconscious Naruto and frowned slightly. When she turned to the crowd, mostly everyone looked at her in awe. Only Omura was looking down, shaking his head. He knew that Yujito would most likely win, but didn't think she would do all this. She didn't have to do this to win. Even she knew it. Looking down at her hands, she felt bad. Part of her mad at herself for losing control. But she just won and she wouldn't show her inner turmoil. Finally she got off of him and stood up and walked away, giving one last look back to Naruto. She left the gym to clean herself off of his blood and to get away from the sight of Naruto. Needing to be alone, she went. Samui wasn't sure if she should follow, but ultimately didn't. When everyone turned back to the ring, Naruto was no longer laying there. They didn't think much of it, thinking that the sensei already relocated him. However, they didn't notice that even she was confused. It didn't last long as she regained her composure. Okay, Omo and Samui, to the ring. She eyed. Oma thought. I need to learn Naruto's disappearing act. Yujito was seated on a bench, hugging her knees to her chest. She didn't feel happy about her victory, only feeling guilty. You know, you don't look so good being down. Huh? How'd you get here? How'd you know? She turned around to see a perfectly fine Naruto standing there looking towards the sun. I got here by walking. I know because you don't hide your feelings well at all. He turned to her and frowned. Again, you beat me and still aren't happy. I don't get it. You really had to be a smart-ass. What do you mean I don't hide it well? She didn't speak about the part about her apparently looking good when she isn't sad, but didn't know how she was supposed to interpret it, so chose to ignore it. Well, you practically wear your emotions. What? Am I supposed to hide it? It lets you not be taken advantage of. Why are you like that? Just what's happened to you? Who are you? You're constantly changing. Naruto said nothing, making her annoyed and frown. You really don't trust anyone, do you? He just shook his head. You're such a bastard. You know that? Naruto just smiled. Don't like that you can't figure me out? She just looked away. Listen, you're succeeding, lighten up a bit, okay? Right now you've set yourself to be placed at the top. I didn't have to do all that I did. Naruto frowned. Maybe, maybe not. You did what was natural in the moment. If you had a different opponent, it wouldn't have seemed so bad. So stop moping. You're a winner, act like it. You didn't just lose. She managed to smile slightly. Here was the guy she just broke, and yet he was here trying to cheer her up. Speaking of which, how are you seemingly healed? Well, I'm not seemingly, I am. Why that is, I'm not sure, I've just always healed fast. Well, I'm going to my next class. You have a good day. Naruto? HM? You hold back a lot, don't you? Naruto chuckled and just walked away. Bastard could at least tell the truth. She mumbled to herself. Back in the gym. The match was called to start, and Oma sighed. He moved his lollipop to the other side of his mouth, now being on the left, and dodged a punch by stepping to the left. Damn. Right out the gate swinging. Omo had to step back from a downwards kick and lean back to dodge her next punch. He grabbed his lollipop and held it in his left hand while sending a punch into her gut with his right. She recoiled slightly in pain but overcame it and glared at him. He slowly put his lollipop back into his mouth. Sorry? She smirked and charged him head-on. Shit. Samui jumped and landed a few kicks into his chest before landing and spinning around to kick him on the side of his head. Omo fell to the ground and groaned. He went to get up when she came on top of him and began performing a choke on him by bringing her arm around his neck, and his chin was at her elbow as she squeezed. He wasn't expecting this, so he didn't get to tuck his chin in. Due to that, she had an open shot and took advantage. Omo struggled a bit to try to escape but couldn't. She was on his back and there was nothing he could do. With no other choice, he tapped out and Samui was declared the winner. Omo got up and groaned. That sucked. Thought maybe I'd last longer. He stepped down and went to the lockers to change. What's up, Omo? How'd it go? Naruto? What are you doing here? How are you? Fine. Second time I got asked that. I'm relaxing for one. And two, it's a secret. Who was the first? Yujito. That's where you went? Naruto nodded and smiled. Yeah, she was in a pitiful state. He laughed a bit. Had to correct that. Can't have someone being that way when they just won and showed that they were the student to beat. Oma nodded. You actually care about her. He began to change and noticed that Naruto seemed to be waiting. What can I do for you? Naruto didn't speak at first, but Omo knew him well enough to just be patient. Naruto wasn't that great at expressing his thoughts when it actually mattered. With a sigh, he finally spoke. You free this after the academy? Yeah. Why? Come to my place. There's some things I want to tell you. Omo nodded, and when he did, Naruto left. Well, brat. You got your ass handed to you. Yup. You were using some of my abilities by accident. If you want to use them better, you'll need train and learn how to use your chakra. I did. Yes. I'm telling you because it can be dangerous for you to use my power and abilities if you don't know what you're doing. On top of that, if you ever accidentally use my chakra, well, let's hope not many people are around. What'll happen? You won't be able to control it. Learn about your chakra. Then we can talk about it. Naruto nodded and continued walking. He had a bow to master. Naruto walked his usual route home, however now Omo was at his side on the right. The two didn't really talk, rather Omo just followed. Whatever Naruto wanted, it had to be something important. He wondered what it could be since Naruto was so silent. That was technically normal, but this was different. His face showed no emotion. He seemed sort of like a robot. After the long walk, Omo looked up the steps and towards the peak where Naruto lived. It seemed interesting that he had the entire league to himself. Normally there would be a few homes, but not with this one. The massive stone door that was the entrance really caught his eye. It looked really good for keeping others out, but he also had an eerie feeling that it was more for keeping something in, if need be. This was also the most secluded peak of the village as it stood alone in the district. The hour walk only making Omo really start wondering what was up with this all. Then again, he could be totally overthinking it and probably wasn't so deep. Alright. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Is there anything I can get you? Naruto said as he led Omo into the house. I'm okay. The sound of the door shutting was like he was sealed in a chamber to never see the outside world again. So let's just get straight to it. Where to begin? I am technically unstable. What do you mean? Well, remember how I've said that I never received training? Omo nodded. I lied sort of. To start, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, formerly of Konohagakure. I was brought here when I was 3. I was told that I contained a rare and special power. Something I didn't really understand. Okay. So what? You have a Kekkei Genkai? I could, but that's not the point right now. Point is, a little time after that, I was 5 going on 6, and I was undergoing training to be able to use my power. I failed. Omo's eyes widened. He was undergoing a training for some secret power and failed. Then how messed up is he from it? What happened, Naruto? I'm considered unstable because this training would allow me full control over whatever power is within me. They took me to a sacred and spiritual place. There's a waterfall there that pours into a pond. In the center of the pond is a small island that when you silence your mind and concentrate, you will be faced with an enemy. What kind of enemy? Naruto, is everything okay? Naruto sighed as he shrugged. Honestly, I don't know if I'm okay. But this enemy is something your own mind creates. It's something you must overcome in order to take next step. For me, the embodiment of my hatred, anger, sadness, and pain all in one was what I had to overcome. To be able to let go, to forgive, to love, to find happiness, and I couldn't do it. I failed. I was consumed by it, and a wrath like no other resulted. I went crazy and berserk. Oma looked away. So you failed your training and was consumed by what you were supposed to overcome. Then what happened to the original you? Are you still the same? Naruto, having a feeling on what Omoe was thinking, took a deep breath. I am still me in a way. You see, they managed to suppress the state I was in and close off that part of me. In doing so, they had to partially seal off certain emotions, my anger, pain, and sadness. There's a catch though, right? You can't just seal those things without repercussions. Naruto nodded. Yeah, this isn't going to be permanent. The seals aren't absolute. Practically, it's like trying to block the flow of water. It will work for a while, but eventually the pressure will build up and boom, it blows up and rushes out faster than it would have without the block. You're practically like bottling up your emotions but on steroids. Wait, sometimes your personality shifts. That's a result of the seals being weakened, isn't it? Naruto smiled. You really are smart. I have been getting better, but the worry is that I will never be able to have full control. Since this is entirely internal, there is no training for overcoming the problem. It's on me. It's why I've never worked with my chakra. That was the next step, but I never got to it. Every day I meditate to try to find some answer but can't. Well, if your struggle is based on your anger, hatred, sadness, and pain, Naruto? Yes? Where did you develop such strong negative feelings to where you can't complete your training? Naruto looked away and sat on the floor against the wall, across from the couch that Omoe sat on. With a long sigh, he looked back. I don't want to talk about it, just know that it's why I came here. Well, based on what I know about you, you've always been alone with no attachments. Maybe if you formed a few bonds with others, you could have enough positive feelings to outweigh the negative. Naruto nodded. Makes sense. Also, there's a voice in my head. Come again? I think he's the source of this special power that I hold. What does it sound like? Deep, menacing. Almost demonic, although it don't seem too bad. Sarcastic, but not bad. Huh. Interesting. You really are an enigma, you know that? Naruto chuckled. Perhaps, but I need to unlock my chakra Omo. The ones that were with me on my training decided not to teach me after that incident. The Reikage has plans, but it's taking too long. I'm falling behind. Dude, you're a Kenjutsu master at 9. You're not behind. Naruto smiled. Thanks still though. Wait. The Reikage? Yeah. He and his brother were present during my training, overlooking my progress. Reikage-sama has big plans for me, he says, but due to the setback is working to find a workaround. Maybe you should wait for him then. No. Please, Oma. Help me unlock my chakra. I know I can do it if you help me. You're my best friend. Naruto, I'm not sure if it's wise you were told to wait. I can't wait. Every day I realize how far behind I am. Someone like me needs to work 1,000 times harder than everyone else. Oma groaned. Fine. Also, just in case, make sure you stay by the door. In the slightest chance that something seems to be going wrong, you get out immediately. Don't try to stay, and make sure to shut that door behind you. What the hell could happen? What's a door going to do? Naruto smirked. You were right on your thoughts about it being made to keep something in me. The moment I seem to lose control, that door will act as the last seal to keep me in. The entire house is made to keep me in, should I lose control. That's partly why there's no neighbors up here. It will serve as a prison until I'm suppressed. What the hell? You're not some animal that needs to be caged up. Naruto placed his right hand on Omoi's left shoulder and smiled as he spoke. With what can happen to me, if there is even a small chance that I could lose it, they need to prepare like it's an absolute certainty. Oma frowned. Better safe than sorry, so you escaped whatever trauma and hell you went through previously, just to be imprisoned? Shaking his head, Naruto said, I'm not in prison. Just a failsafe. Look, if the worst happens, all I remember is that everything becomes red and it will surround me. If it happens, go to Trey's, that weapon shop I pointed out on the way here. Ask for Kira, tell her FS9T was activated. She'll know what to do. Naruto, you sure you want to do this? It sounds risky. Naruto nodded slowly. It has to be done. Oma nodded and sighed. Just go slow. I'll do what I can from my end to make sure nothing happens, but you just have to go slow. I'll try. Thank you for your help. Even though you disappear a lot. Alright, to unlock it, it'll be like when you meditate, but rather than trying to keep your mind empty and being still, you're searching for a warm pool-like sensation within yourself. Once you find it, pull on it, and intensify the feeling, you'll know you're doing it right because the feeling will spread throughout your body. Once complete, chakra will be expelled a small amount from your body. Naruto nodded and began to meditate and feel for the supposed warm pool. Oma moved to be by the door, as he was told. For about 15 minutes, Naruto remained meditating, waiting for what he was looking for. Since it was the first time trying to cause his chakra to manifest, he really didn't know what he was doing exactly until finally feeling a spark. It wasn't like a pool as he was told, but there were these sparks. It was like trying to make a fire with flint. The sparks were increasing, the more he concentrated on it. Eventually the feeling erupted into flames and the fire-like feeling spread through his entire body. Oma watched in fascination as he could feel the chakra and heat emanating from Naruto. It felt so dense and strong. He never felt chakra like this, not even with his own. Granted, he wasn't a sensor, but he could tell, this was unique. It was like fire burning, providing warmth and security, yet the potential for devastation. Suddenly, the chakra grew in rapid rates. It just kept growing. When Naruto opened his eyes, a shockwave from his chakra was expelled and threw Omu into the door. He couldn't believe the sheer power of Naruto's chakra. It held this much strength. He just finally awakened his dormant chakra. Looking at Naruto in awe, he noticed that Naruto's eyes began to roll back and he suddenly passed out. Naruto! Omu ran over to Naruto to see what was wrong. When he reached him, there was no visible indication of anything being wrong. That was an abnormally large amount of chakra, maybe that was the cause? Reikage Tower. It's about time, I said, chuckling as the seals picked up on Naruto's chakra being awakened. Reikage-sama, was it wise to let him be on his own all this time after the incident? You worry too much, Mabui. He needs to do this on his own and find his own path. He said so himself. There's nothing we can do to help him, it's his internal conflict. What if he rampages again? This time, though, he won't be in the containment of the sacred waterfall. It'll be fine. He's progressing very well. We will bring him in soon. For now, he has to learn on his own. Mabui reluctantly nodded. She couldn't deny Naruto's progress. A master of Kenjutsu and already working on another weapon type. His ingenuity, as always, continues to impress. The sky was the limit for him. She just wondered if the risk of letting him be on his own and not trained was worth it. Reikage-sama? What about his apparent fondness of Yujito? What of it? You are not worried about his interest in her? Mabui, the kid is not interested in her specifically. It's obvious he can sense the Nibi within her. He just doesn't know that it's the Nibi that he feels as familiar. Due to that, it would seem that he is interested in her when in reality, Naruto merely wants to find the answer to what makes the similar feeling. Are you sure? Who takes a beating and tries to comfort the attacker? Someone trying to look unfazed by anything that they come across. We know he enjoys aggravating everyone. Him seeming perfectly fine after she beat him definitely got in her head. Besides, she told me that he said that he'd been wrong about her a year ago. At this point, I wouldn't doubt it if he's just trying to have his own sense of fun. Sir, with all due respect, he's an unstable Jinchuriki. There's actions that we are supposed to take. Not this time. I want to see how this plays out. Besides, even with the Kyuubi, he can't beat B or me yet. You put too much faith in the improbable. Doesn't mean impossible. Naruto's house. Naruto slowly began to open his eyes and Omoe for the first time noticed the dull, cold blue for the first time. It looked like he felt totally empty and had nothing to live for. Seeing this, his heart sank and found it hard to not feel the urge to begin to cry. Naruto? Instantly the dull brightened and the bright warm blue eyes of his friend returned. With it a smile. I'm okay, Omoe. I didn't realize how overwhelming a feeling that would be. Omoe nodded. Now, there's nothing else I can really teach you. You can channel your chakra and expel it by more or less the same process. The more you do it, the simpler it will be. I haven't learned much else yet. Naruto smiled a pure, genuine smile and his eyes seemed moistened and shine from the light. Thank you, Omoe. You're a good friend one I don't deserve, but I'm happy to have you. Of course, Naruto. Just let's make sure to beat those two next time, Omoe said laughing. The two sat against the wall drinking tea and laughing for the next hour. You know something? I ain't never seen or heard of anyone who released that much chakra when first unlocking it. Naruto shrugged. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with me being an Uzumaki? I remember the Reikage saying that I'll have a lot of chakra because of that. Maybe. Well, I should get going. I'll see you tomorrow. Naruto nodded and walked him out. When he was alone, he sighed as he locked up and turned to got to a far door. When the door was opened it was dark and had steps going down. He took the long walk down and entered a massive room of stone and etchings all over the walls, floor, and ceiling. Sit down and focus. Naruto complied to everything he was being told. Concentrate on my voice, follow it within your mind. Focus on where it's coming from. Relax and breathe, just focus on my voice. Eventually Naruto finally got to where he figured he was meant to be. He was in a massive sewer-like system and there were tunnels going in different directions. He focused on the voice and where it was coming from. Soon after following for a while, he reached a large opening. As he entered, there was a massive gate that was locked. A gate? Why? What is this place? This can't be my mind, can it? If so, it must not be good that it's a sewer, huh? Really, brat? That's your first thoughts here? Not what's behind the gate. Gate's there and locked. No need to worry about that. I assume that you are locked away behind the gates? Or is it the other way around? Gate keeping me in and you out. Not now. Listen closely, you may have been overtaken before, but that was to be expected. You are not yet ready for my power. That incident doesn't mean you can't use my abilities or power even. It just means you have a chance of losing control. So, that training was just to ensure that I wouldn't lose control when using your power? In a way. It just becomes highly unlikely. You are still able to lose it based on your emotions and what is happening to you. Regardless, I'll be giving you the basics of my abilities. We'll wait to begin using my power once you've mastered your own. Cool. So what do you look like? I'd like to put a face to the voice that's helped me out. From the darkness beyond the gate, a pair of glowing crimson eyes with black slits opened up. The eyes came closer with the sounds of loud, thunderous steps. When the being reached the gate, a massive orange fox with 9 tails stood tall and proud. Sharp, massive fangs and claws, and an appearance that demands respect and fear. I am the Kyubi no Yoko, king of the Bijou. And foxes, no doubt. Funny that you say that, but it's not the time. For now, you need to know the basic abilities granted to you. Cool. You know? You're not that bad. I always imagined something worse. Then again, you haven't exactly been as evil as you sound. I'm really not. Humans mistake my kind based on how they treated us. We wanted nothing to do with your damn species. It was you who sought us out and attacked regardless. I'm not getting into that. Well, I'd like to learn more about you and your kind sometime. The Kyubi nodded and took a breath. This kid really was something else. Maybe that was why he never hated him like the others. Perhaps this human was shaping out to be a pretty decent one. He remembered the times when he and the other Bijou were together. Then there were times when they got to meet up at times. There were stories that some of the humans weren't so bad. Perhaps he never got to meet any that were good well until now. First off, all your senses are increased. At the moment, you've only activated them once by accident. After practice it will be second nature, and will always be there. Next, you are far more agile and faster than normal. This increases over time as you get stronger. You also have, as you know, increased healing and recovery. So that was because of you. The Kyubi nods. Well, I haven't noticed those others though. You don't utilize it at all. You just need to focus. You'll start by meditating, dial in on your senses, and eventually you'll get it. Just know, it is simultaneously a gift and a curse to have amplified senses. What do you mean? You'll see now, this is all my passive traits that I pass to you. So no work involved, at least in regards to chakra and such. Kyubi nodded. Now, my chakra, don't even mess with that for now. When it's time, I'll bring you in for that. What do you mean bring me in? You going to ask 1000 questions? Sorry, just curious. What am I supposed to do? Fair enough. Look, one thing you should know about everything you'll be learning: get creative. The limits that will generally hold humans back don't pertain to you. Not since you have me. Naruto understood. Why are you helping me? Feeling charitable. Besides, I've got 2 friends here. Well, a special one at one point. Okay, Big Fox. So why was I brought to the room? Because this room has special properties that allowed us to communicate this way. Eventually, this room won't be needed anymore to do so, but this has to be done for now. Also, when you go back, do as I said, it will help. How? Is this room like that waterfall place? Yes. It enhances your spiritual connection. It also seems that your Reikage planned on you eventually training with my power, since it's been reinforced to handle the strain that it would go through. Do you agree with his decision to have not been helping me anymore after the last time? Naruto, there is nothing the man can do to help you with your internal conflict. As I said, it isn't even totally necessary. It helps, yes, but with my power that wouldn't be all that you would need. My level of strength, and by extension, my chakra, is nothing compared to the others. They don't measure up. Think of it this way. There's 9 of us, each with a specific number of tails which designates our power. The 1 tail is the base. As you go up, think of it as the number of tails multiplied by the 1 tail. So the 2 tails is twice as strong as the 1 tail, for instance. Okay, but then wouldn't the 8 tails still be close? I am where things get tricky. I'm not just 9 times stronger than the 1 tail. My power is all the Bijou combined, then multiplied by 9. That is why my power and chakra are nothing like theirs. Naruto's jaw dropped. BBB, but that doesn't even make sense. That's ridiculous. Do you have their traits as well? Haha, no. Even so, I am far more powerful than they are. I don't have lava, blue flames, control over sand, boiling traits, wings, or any of that other stuff, yet I remain the king. They can have those abilities and still, it is meaningless in the face of me. I am of the simplest of the Bijou, but yet, the most powerful. Just know, I do have a special ability that none of them can offer, their Jinchuriki. But that's not for now. Well, technically too, but I've yet to decide if you'll get the other. As sure, I mean, like at this point, I don't think anything else can surprise me anymore. There is literally nothing stronger than you. So I wouldn't doubt a thing you say in regards to your capabilities. The Kyubi smirked and sent Naruto back to the real world. This made him look around, and he began to meditate to focus on his senses as he was told. He wanted to get this mastered to potentially have an edge. By the way, Kit, forgot to tell you. You also technically have night vision. That explains a lot. As he focused, he noticed the etchings would glow red. Naruto took it as a sign that he was getting it and continued working. By the end of the night, the etchings constantly were glowing red and never deactivated. This meant he finally got his senses augmented fully by the Kyuubi's influence. Now every sense was dialed up, his hearing, smell, taste, feel, and even sight increased drastically. Yo, what does tea taste like now? The next day Naruto was getting ready for the academy when he noticed his eyes were different. They now had a black vertical slit for his pupils. His whisker marks also became a little more pronounced but wasn't drastic. Kyuubi, is this normal? You've literally augmented yourself. This is a side effect. Those whisker marks on your face, as you know, have been there since birth. That's because as an infant my chakra had changed you while you were in the womb, and augmented you from there to a slight degree. Now you pretty much finished it. So I'm different now? Pretty much. While you were only slightly changed. Now you've fully been morphed. Be glad I'm not like one of the other Bija and turned you into some sort of bug or turtle or something. Am I going to become a fox? The Kyuubi laughed. No. Haha, you just have more of my traits. You already had the slight changes, they just became fully there. Like your pupils always were slightly slitted, just never completely. The whisker marks now actually are far more obvious and also far more sensitive, so. You mean my cheeks will be a weak spot? Well, in a weird way. Not necessarily to being punched, just not now. You won't be experiencing what I mean until later, much later. What are you talking about? God damn it, Kit. You'll learn that shit later. I am not going to be the one to explain this crap. Geez, sorry for not being all-knowing immortal entity. Just keep in mind what I told you. Having these fully augmented senses, they're a gift and a curse. But hey, welcome to the life of us kitsune. Naruto smiled slightly. He was now a part of something. Well, he was a part of an animal, but hey, there were worse things out there. At least he wasn't growing fur or growing a tail quickly, he felt for one, which made the Kyuubi laugh like crazy at his host, and Naruto frowned at seeming stupid for ever thinking he could actually have a tail. Hey Kyuubi. Got a name? I have a name and everything, and everyone has one, so what's yours? About damn time you ask.